just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, brought to you this week by Ringers Western for two reasons. Still plenty of merch left on the Ringers Western website. Head over there, grab some first ever bloke work shirts. First ever, we got some caps as well. So that is at ringerswestern.com. Head over there, grab some. Also, the last leg of the country tour. It is this Friday at Gilligans in Cairns, of the regional tour, sorry. We're at Gilligans in Cairns, 6 p.m. local time this Friday, the last leg. It has been an incredible run. Loved going out into the regional areas and seeing all the locals. So make sure to get down to the Cairns one. Let's make it the best one so far, the biggest one so far, the last leg in Cairns. Come down for a few beers, watch us talk footy, come and say hi. It's a great night. Boys, how'd you enjoy last Friday?
Queensland's not bad, eh?
It's not bad place, is it?
Not
good,
great.
humble,
It's not bad.
good, humble butlers, mate. That's all we are up there.
They were champion fellas up there. Really enjoyed myself.
Timmy?
Yeah, good pubs, mate. That's about it. That had an awesome time in Rocky. Guru got there before us on the Thursday and went and sussed out the venue. And it had the big bull ring. I was waiting for the rodeo to be on before or after us, and it obviously wasn't on this weekend. But the venue was unreal. We had a great crowd again. Had such a good time.
Yeah, venue was actually fantastic.
When I was there on the Thursday, I said, we're doing the live show tomorrow. Are we going to be doing it in this room? And I was just standing in the bar, and I thought, it's a little bit small. And she said, no, we'll be out in the arena. And I sort of thought, it's a weird name for a beer garden. But sure, walked out there. I almost fell over. I couldn't believe it. There was a
so
grandstand.
Good. It's literally like a grandstand. There's like a bullpen. Like, it is unbelievable. Also, when I walked out earlier and I saw the tables, I was like, damn, like that's a lot of tables. How are we going to fill that out? And they come out. They all come out. The legend Queenslanders filled her out. Matty, what do you think about Queensland, mate?
Yeah, I'm slowly warming up after obviously born and bred in New South Wales, but after working for the Blues and having it ingrained in me just to hate them, I came into Bloke just absolutely hating it, but it's subsiding a bit. It all started with Magic Round last year at the Cax, and that was one of the best weekends of my entire life. And Rocky was fantastic on the weekend, and I'm keen to go to Cairns this week.
Yep.
Yeah, can't wait.
Cairns this week, guys, 6 p.m. It is the last leg of the regional tour, so do not miss it. We'll do these tours again, but we're not sure whether it'll be this year or next year, and we'll be going to different places. We won't go back to Cairns or back to Rocky for quite a while. We'll go somewhere else. So if you're in the area, make sure to get in to Gilligans in Cairns, 6 p.m. this Friday is when it all kicks off. Now it's time for accountability, boys. Also, make sure, if you're going to have a punt, do it responsibly, guys. You win some, but you lose more than you win, guys. So just have a punt, a little dabble here and there. Don't go crazy. Always do it responsibly. But accountability brought to you by Sportsbet. Currently, they're running a promo called Share a Bet. Share a Bet, but also Share a Bet. They share a bloke named Brett. Share a Bet. Basically, if your mate puts a multi on, and you want to ride it with him, you can without having to manually put it in yourself. You can now share the bet with a tap of a button, and your mate can copy. It's straight into their bet slip. Share the bet, copy the bet with Sportsbet. Now, time for accountability. Manly defeat the Eels 34-30. Wow, the end of the game was an absolute nail biter. Have we got the odds by any chance, Matty, or no?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's all right. So, Manly defeat Eels. We all went Manly, which is pretty crazy. The grand finalists last year, we all went Manly, so we got that one right. Dolphins defeat the Knights. We all went Dolphins, a team that a lot of people thought wouldn't win a game for the first 6 weeks. Then we got Roosters defeat South. I went Roosters, Guru went South, Timmy went Roosters, Matty went South. So that's what. So me and Timmy are up right now, 3 for 3. What a start!
We've hit the front,
mate. What a start, 3 for 3. Okay, so the Manly game, Manly was paying $1.71, Eels $2.15. Knights game, Knights are paying $2.35. Dolphins went all the way into $1.60.
So they were $2.20 the Sunday before.
$2.20 down to $1. The Dolphins $1.60 away from home. Oh my God!
Was that before the Knights game on the Sunday?
Yeah. So before all the guys went down.
Yeah.
And everything.
You would have got a bit of value if you went with me and Timmy though. Sydney Roosters $2.05. South Rabbit $1.77. Now on to the next game. Oh man, I can't believe it. Titans defeat Storm 38-34. Crazy high scoring game. Who would have thought Storm would get sucked into a Titans? That's called Titans ball, where it's like whoever can score the most points as high as possible. We all went the Storm. We thought they'd bounce back. They didn't. And the Titans were paying $2.75.
I was a bit filthy at this one, Kempy, because I was quite keen on the Titans, but you boys are all hyping up the Storm, and I just didn't have the backbone to back myself and go the Titans, and I folded under pressure. So, mate, the tip's the tip, but did all right betting-wise on the Titans.
All I heard was I don't have backbone.
Yeah.
All I heard.
Don't blame us for your lack of backbone,
I'm
bro.
not. I'm not. All I am.
Warriors defeat the Cowboys. What is going on? I feel like I've eaten my words on the I think it was either the podcast or the live show where I was like, I don't know why people are saying Cowboys have started the year poorly. Everyone, like, there's this rhetoric, and then they go out and that happens, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong about that. And what were the odds here? The odds were Cowboys $1.35. Warriors were $3.25. If you had got on that, $3.25 to get the win. Wow.
13 plus as well. Any Warriors fans who took that. Ooh.
Wow. 13 plus Warriors. We all went Cowboys, so all wrong. Broncos defeat the Dragons 40-18. We all went Broncos. That score is a bit deceiving, though, because it was like all in the last 10 minutes. It was a very nervous night, and we'll get to it because there's a few. I'm going to be negative Nancy this week. Negative Nancy. Broncos are paying $1.31. Dragons $3.50. Bulldogs defeat the Tigers. We all went the Doggies. They got the job done despite a late scare. Doggies are paying $1.45, Tigers $2.75. And then the Raiders defeat the Sharks. And this is where Timmy got out to a victory. Damn you. I went the Sharks. Guru went Raiders. Timmy went Raiders. Matty went the Sharks.
I'm going to give myself a little pat on the back. I think I'm the first man ever to tip the Raiders correctly 3 weeks in a row.
Mate, seriously.
I'm going to see how long I can go for.
Canberra Raiders are paying $2.35 at home. Wow.
Yeah, crazy odds. And to quote a certain rugby league guru 1 week ago, the cream rises to the top, mate, was it?
Enjoy it.
So Timmy wins this week. That's a win. We'll try to keep a tally of who wins overall. Okay, now also the overs are back. 6 from 8 games going over. The other 2, just 1 score from going over 2. Year of the underdog, covering the line continues. 5 from 8 this weekend and 15 from 24 for the year at 63%. 16 players scored a double this weekend, including 1 hat-trick. Broncos into single figures to win the comp. $9 was $19 at the start of the year. That's music to me ears. Music to me ears. Finns still a decent $2.80 to make the 8. Holy! If they make the 8, it'll be one of the greatest stories in rugby league history. Seriously,
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Storm out to $9.50. They were $7.50 at the start of the year to win the comp after back-to-back losses. Guess who's favourites to win the spoon now, according to betting odds? The Tigers have gone to favourites to win the spoon at $3.10. Wow. That is all brought to you by Sportsbet, our friends at Sportsbet. As always, guys, if you're going to have a punt, do it responsibly. Don't go crazy. Only do what you can afford. If you're going to have a punt, do it with Sportsbet. They're the best in the business. We all know this. Thank you to Sportsbet for partnering with Bloke and helping this machine roll on. Let's get into Team of the Week, boys. Team of the Week. Man, this was actually really hard this week because, I think our teams, we actually haven't spoken about our teams yet, so they could be quite different. Okay, so Team of the Week for me, Tom Trbojevic at the back, Montoya at 2, Timoko at 3, Alamotti at 4, Jackson Paulo at 5, Schuster 6, Reynolds at 7, Haas at 8, Cheese at 9, Hargreaves at 10, Olakawatu, the beast, at 11, Nikora at 12, Carrigan at 13, Starling at 14, Corey Horsburgh 15, Tarpane 16, Gilbert 17.
I went for Reece Walsh at fullback, Kiraz on the wing, Montoya on the other side. He is becoming that little Manu Vatuvei, isn't he?
Yeah.
Matty Timoko and Campbell Graham in the centres, Tomato Martin at 6, Adam Reynolds at 7, Corey Horsburgh and Payne Haas up front. I went with Harry Grant at 9, Olakawatu and Nikora in the back row with Gilbert at 13. My bench, I went with Starling, Jazz Tavanga, Ruria Hargraves and Paddy Carrigan.
Yep. Tommy Turbo.
It's your turn now, Timmy.
Good one, mate. Tommy Turbo at fullback, on the wings, Fox and Montoya at centres. the absolute stacked position this week, the centres. There were so many options you could have had in here. I went Ewan Aitken and Matt Timoko. Matty Burton and Braden Trindle actually went in the halves. Big Red, Corey Horse were up front with Payne Haas and Tommy Gilbert at lock. My hook was Harry Grant. Edges were Nikora and Olakawatu. My bench, Jazz Tavanga was unreal on return from injury. Tony Staggs, Ria Hargreaves and Alex Twal put in an absolute shift for a pretty ordinary Tigers outfit yesterday.
Mate, when doesn't he put in a shift? Seriously.
A particularly big shift yesterday, though.
Yeah,
he was
I know.
outstanding, I thought.
He's so good. I mean, I think he re-signed last year, but I would love to see him at a top-tier club because he'd be so appreciated.
Yep.
Like, I'm sure he's appreciated by Tigers fans, but you take him to a top-tier club like, you know, the Broncos or the Storm or, you know, whoever it is, he would be, like, I don't think people get, like, the joke is that he hasn't scored a try and whatever, but I don't think people actually, because he's the, you know, you can make a joke about him, he's affable, he's a lovable guy, you don't actually appreciate the tough stuff he gets through consistently every single week in a forward pack that is usually dominated. It's incredible. Really, really good. So
And he always seems to be a guy that is loved by his teammates too.
Loved by his teammates. I hope he's on decent enough coin. Like, I hope he's not on unders at the Tigers. I hope they're paying him well because he deserves it. Now, shout out to some New South Wales stores. Bayfield Liquor, DY, and Bayfield's Belrose, massive liquor stores on the northern beaches selling bloke lager for great prices. Pop in to see Costin and Craig and grab some bloke beer. Terralba, Bottle-O, pumping bottle shop that has prices you can't beat in the area. Mick, the owner, has a big stack of bloke lager in the middle of the shop and he's selling it for $52 a case. Wow. So that's at Terralba, Bottle-O, $52 a case. IGA St. Ives, I'd say. That right? Yeah. Yep. IGA St. Ives, now stocking both bloke lager and bloke midi and selling for great prices. Chelmsford Hotel, bloke beers, only stock us in Curry, now ranging bloke lager and bloke midi. Bloke lager selling for $20 a pack or $19.99 and $59 a case, and bloke midi is $17.99 a six-pack and $55 a case. Pop in to see Jason and his team and support a local independent bottle shop. That's Chelmsford Hotel. And if you haven't tried our midi, give it a crack. It is going bananas. People are loving our mid-strength. It is seriously nearly outstripping our lager. That's how much people love it. So get in, try our midi. Let's get straight into the game, shall we, boys? Manly defeat the Eels 34-30. This was an interesting one because for most of the game, you would have said Manly had it pretty much in control, looked like world beaters, and then the last 10 minutes or so, you thought, oh my God, this is going to be the Cowboys from last year, the Cowboys Manly versus last year. But the Manly Seagulls managed to hold on. I got to say, some of the touches Schuster had, like we spoke about his potential at the start of the year and, you know, what he can bring and how different he is. But if you ever need an example of the unique direction that Schuster can take this club in at 6, the weekend was that. Like, some of the touches he had were so silky. Now, his game's not complete by any stretch of the imagination. He needs some more game match fitness, you know, defensively sometimes reads. But I just thought Schuster's impact on the game, along with Olakawatu, who is getting closer and closer to an Origin start this year. He was phenomenal. I thought Schuster and Olakawatu, for me, were absolutely outstanding. Guru, what do you think about this game?
That moment where Josh Schuster chipped over the top of Guffo.
Insane.
Like, the touch that it looked like it was a helium football. It was perfect. And, you know, I think it's all good and well when you chip over the top. The vast majority of times you get it off the play, the ball, you get to assess what's going on. That was off an offload. Mm-hmm. That was just off the top of his head. And Turbo obviously scored it, but him or Schuster could have scored that one. So, unreal stuff. And, yeah, obviously defensively there's work to be done there with Schuster, but it's early days. He's a special, special talent, isn't he?
As long as he could if he keeps a good attitude and training hard, he can be whatever he wants to be. Seriously crazy. Timmy, what do you think about the game?
Yeah, I mean, it was just Schuster being the centre of attention for that game. Some of his moments and ability to square up in attack, you look at what we often refer to halves running direct and squaring up the defensive line, and arguably the best in the game at it is Kieran Foran, who left that spot at Manly on the left edge, and Schuster comes in and, dare I say it, like in terms of squaring up defences, he could be better. In his first game at 5'8", coming off injury, was freakish. Joey Johnson was in commentary at the time, and I've never seen a bloke get more excited about a half squaring up the defensive line. He was about to lose his mind. 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
And I think the stats aren't going to reflect it at times. I think what we're going to see with Josh Schuster, it wouldn't surprise me if he stays fit this season to be the top try contributions this year, much like Matty Moylan was last year and took us all surprise. Because he does all the hard yards, squaring up in the middle and playing out the back, he plays out the back to Tommy and Tommy sweeps and he'll get the try assist. But Schuster is going to just rack up a ton of try contributions. And as you said, Kempy, there's a few fitness issues. Defensively, he wasn't very good at times, but I think that'll come. He'll learn being that one further out in the defensive line. Really good signs.
Like first game back, to have that much of an impact against the grand finalists. Like we're forgetting, this guy's like 20 years old. Like it was an incredible performance. Like if he had come in and just did his job, we would have been like, great return, good solid for the young fella. He's been out for a while. He didn't just come in and do his job. He came in and did some things that a lot of halves that have been in the comp for 10 years can't do. It's insane. And I would go as far to say as he is, not only is he like good at squaring up, and I think you probably agree, Timmy, he's the best in the comp at squaring up. Right now, small sample size, absolutely no denying it. But the way he can throw a ball out the back, but his whole body is looking directly forward, I think he's the best in the comp at squaring up. Now, doesn't mean he's the best half, all that blah, blah, blah. But at squaring up, I don't think I'm trying to think of a guy we've ever seen that can do stuff like that. And I'm struggling to remember a guy unless you guys know someone that was as good.
You obviously mentioned Foz, and especially in the early parts of his career, he was incredible at it. He still is, but yeah, Schuster, the way that he does it, like you can see how he obviously squares up his man, but he squares up the next two guys.
It's crazy. And he doesn't look. Yeah. He doesn't even need to look to pass it.
Yeah.
Like, all jokes aside about the fact that he's actually blind, he doesn't even have to look. That's how silky he is. And he lands it nearly every time. It's mental.
And with those, like, no-look passes, like, and obviously it has so much impact, but it's also crazy that it's his first game at 5'8". He's only been in the club, 2 years in first grade? Like, it's not like he's playing with guys he's been playing with for 10-odd years or anything. Like, it's crazy what he's able to do. And I personally think that Cooper John's coming in and killing it in the preseason in the first two games. I think it's the best thing for Schuster.
Yeah, put a rocket up in.
Yep.
But, like, his biggest challenge will be staying fit. Because, like, it's not talent. It's, the crazy thing with Schuster is, like, usually when you get halves in, there's always this one glaring, not issue, but glaring part of their game that they're going to have to fight for their whole career. And it's usually size, defence, taking it to the line, courage, all of those kind of things. Schuster doesn't have anything to worry about size. Defensive reads, like, he can sort that out. If he sorts his defensive reads out, his game is it's already completely rounded. It's like maybe a long kicking game that he might need to work on. But it's just the amount of weapons this kid's going to have in 5 years' time if he can stay on the field. Look how natural he looks now. Imagine in 5 years on the field. Like, it'll be incredible.
And the bloke that he was squaring up a lot of the time, Mitchy Moses, he could take a note from him, be like, because, Mitchy who loves crabbing across field and bringing blokes under, and that's all fine, but at times, we've obviously been critical of him saying he doesn't square up enough to have it happen on him in front of him from a rookie. So, like, he could take a bit of note from that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, like, one knock on Mitchell Moses' game is, like, because I think Mitchell Moses 100% sorted his D, but sometimes when they start chasing points, he'll just start getting too lateral. I think what I think it is? I think it's more, rather than being, a bad part of Mitchell Moses' game, I think it's just his competitiveness. He gets in these moods where he's just like, I need to find points. But on the flip side of that, when you look at Mitchell Moses, when they needed those like tries in the last 10 minutes, he went into that mode and it all worked for him. But yeah, back to the Manly Seagulls. Schuster for me is just, again, it's as long as he can get his head right, and his head seems to be right, as long as he can train hard and stay on the field, he will be playing in Origin.
And the beauty of Schuster is as well, like, because he's playing with such a ball-dominant 7, he can just focus on his little things.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be the main voice. He doesn't have to organise. He can just focus on his little things and getting them right. It'll be interesting to see, like, what's Ches probably got, do we reckon, 3 years left?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know these days, Because they're bloody playing until they're 1,000.
That's fair. But, like, I think whatever, like, I don't think it could be more than 5 years, for example.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
By that point, you would be hoping that Josh Schuster would really be starting to come into his own then. Like, it could all time really well for Manly.
It's interesting. Would you put him at a 7? Like, make?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. Like, you still have to go out and find a 7, but I think that there would then be sevens in 5 years' time that if he reaches his potential, they'd be going, fuck, I'll take unders to play with Schuster.
Yeah. And also, like, they won't need to go find someone to get points because he'll be able to get the points.
He'll be able to.
It's more just like a Townsend, a Renault.
And you'll be going to the market going, who wants to play with Schuster and Trbojevic?
Yeah.
People will be lining
Olakau'atu
up
as
for
well.
it. Yeah.
How old's Olakau'atu? 23?
He's
How
young.
far off do you reckon Schuster? I reckon he's 2 seasons off Origin.
He's 2 consistent seasons off Origin.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like two full seasons, I think gets a bench spot.
Olakau'atu is
plays-
24.
24,
Yeah.
so young.
I think if Schuster plays at 80% of his best for the next 2 years, he's right in that conversation for sure.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
I think, potentially next season, just because of his versatility on the bench. Like, don't have to talk about him as a starter, but his utility value on the bench, why not next season?
Like, you could literally chuck him in the front row. Like, that's how big he is. Because he's what, 100 and, I think he's 105 to 110 kilos?
6, it says here.
106 kilos.
The one thing is, it's like versatility isn't a thing the Blues are lacking, but you can also never have enough of it and enough utility value in your bench. But gun 5'8", gun second rower, and can absolutely be a ball playing lock. Not that the Blues need it, but say we've got
head knocks and that.
Mario's out, and then one of them gets injured.
Yeah.
Just another ball playing lock straight in. So he's perfect.
Yeah, so you just got to, again, it's for Schuster, it's not about talent, it's not about being able to deliver it, it's just about keep training hard, keep his mind right, he can literally do whatever he wants to do.
I think he grabbed his calf at one point throughout this game. Have we heard anything more about that?
I think it was just a cramp. Usually
cramp,
when they're
was it?
stretching like that, it's a cramp. When you tear your calf, you're not usually stretching it like that, but NRL Physio, the great NRL Physio, make sure to give him a follow, guys. Gives all the updates on injuries over the weekend, and it's really good insight. Like, it's immediate, and also he basically tells you how long your player's going to be out for, and he's like pretty much accurate all the time.
Incredibly accurate.
Incredibly accurate. Even when sometimes other mail comes out that, oh no, that's not the case. NRL Physio is usually right, so give him a follow. But he said the only thing is sometimes a cramp can re-aggravate an old calf strain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
But he said, like, the implication I got from the post was that's a small possibility, but it is a possibility. I think he'll be fine. Again, hopefully, just needs to work on his match fitness. You don't want to be doing that every single week, cramping and rah-rah. But yeah, Schuster was incredible. And I know it's early days for him, but I think he's proven by now. His crazy year at back row. Now he started the year off really well at 6. It's all up to him. His future is in his hands, in no one else's hands.
Fullback went all right too.
Yeah, Tommy
10 tackle
Turbo.
breaks, feel like he's in first gear still. It's
I know,
terrifying.
it's incredible. But let's talk about Olakau'atu. Holy, he was phenomenal. What about his hit on Wiremu Greg? Him and Aloy. Like, what? Like, they're not shotting, little halves and that. They're going after the big boys. Who was it? Yeah, last week, it was kick out. It's like, when I see back rowers doing that, like, there's some players that will just, they'll go for shots and it might happen to be a centre or a 7, a 6 or whatever. When I see a wide running forward hunting the biggest blokes on the field, there's not many players right now in the NRL that do that go hunting the biggest players.
I was watching this game live up in Rockhampton. Then I had to go pick these two up from the airport. So I missed about half an hour of it or so. And I got to the end of the game and I had a look at the stats and I thought, Olakau'atu, 15 tackles, that's low for him. And I watched it back the next day. They were running away from him.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to
They
run.
weren't going near him.
No, he was phenomenal. What do you guys think of Olakau'atu's game?
Yeah, really good. I obviously scored those tries in the back end. That was very, very handy there. But still, 10 runs, 130 metres. I actually thought outside of the tries, it felt like it was a slightly quieter game than usual from him. But this is just what you come to expect of this guy. And, the 2 tries, he's just got X factor that you can't coach.
You can't. And he's coming into his own. He seems so confident, impacting every game he's played this year. It's just... Yeah.
Hates scoring a try off a kick.
Oh, hates it.
We talk about Nadai doing it. Geez, Big Ola scores a try off a kick.
Loves it.
And that's effort areas, isn't it? Just pushing through all the time.
Just giving your 6 or your 7 some options. Like, so often we see some wide running forwards where they go, oh, well, my job is to tackle heaps and run lines. And they just kind of put their hands up when it comes to attack. Whereas Olakau'atu's constantly like, how I can impact this game. What can I do in attack, in defence? I thought he was good. I also think Tuolangi has been really good as well. Statistically, you don't notice it because he's not putting up crazy stats. But I think he just adds this extra punch on the other side where you don't have to just only worry about Olakau'atu. You've got to worry about him as well.
There's little things that he does, though, that catch your eye.
Yep, for sure.
He's just got really nice little touches throughout the game.
I think he's going to. I think he's been already proven to be a solid buy. I mean, you know, I feel like they're the punching bag, but wouldn't you be stoked to be him at Manly, winning rugby league? You know, Tigers at the moment struggling. Just Paseka, I thought he was really good at especially opening the match, like as in the beginning of the match. Who else stood out for you boys? We'll talk about Tommy. 2 tries, a try assist, 204 metres, 10 tackle breaks, a line break assist, an offload. And as you said, Guru, I think the bloke's not even in. He's not even at 100%.
Oh, mate, he's nowhere near 100%. I'd say he's at about 70 at the moment.
We've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, I think it's fair. He's like nothing we've ever seen before. And even like you talk about other guys that you put in this category, you know, your Haynes, your Barbers, these sort of guys, like we talk about them when they're at their best. He is nowhere near his best right now. And yes, Parramatta, they haven't started the season incredibly well. They're the grand finalist.
Yeah, and also Tommy's done it against anyone.
He's done it against
the only team I don't think he has torn apart is the Storm. That's it. Every other team is
better play Origin this year. I'll tell you that much.
Be interesting to see if he'll get picked this year in Origin. I don't know if he's made it, mate. Just being honest, I think he's got to earn his spot back. Up in Queensland, we'd make him earn his jersey. That's the problem with New South Wales. Don't make you earn the jersey, mate.
Oh, what about him and Giraldi? I don't know if we'll pick Gagai. We'll see.
I know. And I also loved it in that live show at Rocky. We were chatting Origin, we were chatting centres, and they're like, Gagai has been battling a little bit at times, just saying, do we throw Hammer in at centre and a few others? Me and Guru, mate, just sitting there going, Latrell and Tommy Turbo on these blokes.
Absolute porkies. We said we'd definitely give Gagai. We're loyal. We said give him game 1 for sure. Anyway, it's all right. Underestimate us at your peril. At your peril. What do you think about Tommy, Timmy?
Freak. And the other one I wanted to touch on, probably not his best game statistically speaking as such, but Ruben Garrick is just becoming such an elite winger of the NRL. He just doesn't make a mistake. He can slot in at fullback seamlessly when required, which at Manly can be quite often. Finishes just about every time. Gun goal kicker. Meter eater, not his biggest yardage in this game, but he's running for 200 plus metres most weeks. It's a shame, Origin-wise, that we're so stacked for wingers, but man, Ruben Garrick is becoming just one of the best wingers in the NRL, I think.
He's so consistent.
Consistent.
Like when it comes to consistent wingers, like he'd have to be in the top 5.
For sure.
Surely.
Yep.
Like he's so consistent. I'm trying to remember the last bad game he had. I think it was like last year and his knee was completely fucked. He shouldn't have been playing, but they had no players. Outside of that, like I can't remember the last time Garrick, we watched a game and at the end of the game we're sitting there going, man, Garrick was pretty bang average today. He is, and he's a battler.
And if anything, when he moves to fullback, he gets more consistent.
And there are several players ahead of him that will be picked on the wing for the Blues, but he could slot in there seamlessly, I think, and be so reliable for Freddie and the Blues. I'd love to see him get a crack one day, but I can easily see it being a bit of a case of Jared Croker, who could have played Origin his whole career but was just off it. Garrett could be in the same sort of mould, but I tell you something, he wouldn't look out of place.
Yeah, Manly, another good win. Jake Trbojevic, I thought he was fantastic again. I think that Jake Trbojevic is starting to kind of find his spot in the team. I think he's pretty much transitioned fully away from the ball playing lock that he was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. For young fellas or girls that watch the game now, or even newcomers to the game, they'll only see Jake as like a tackle machine, a front rower that just gets through a bunch of good, solid work. But, 4 or 5 years ago, he was the best ball playing lock in the comp.
Yeah.
Like, literally. But I think there was a couple of years there where he was hovering between not really, is he still that guy or is he the guy that needs to get through the hard yards? I think he's kind of fully stepped into the role of, okay, I'm not. You can still ball play at times, but he stepped in the role of like, okay, I get through the grunt work for my team.
Well, I sort of felt like before Jazz Hasler arrived, this is sort of who he was. And then Hasler changed his game a little bit to be that ball player, but I felt like anyway, he went too far down the route of a link man and they weren't utilising the skill set that he has. So I think he's in a real sweet spot at the moment, Jakey.
It's a good point you make, Guru. It's like there's a difference between a ball player and being a link man, isn't it? I mean, they obviously tie in together, but a link man is play in the middle, give good service as the middleman between your two halves. But, you know, when we talk about ball player, we've seen him put Tommy Turbo in particular through gaps his entire career, particularly in the early days, and that's his ball playing ability, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's so good at picking his moments too.
Oh, mate.
That's the thing that's undervalued about him.
Remember, we were in 4 years ago? And his ball playing was like phenomenal.
Yep.
Phenomenal for the big fella. But yeah, you're right. I think he has found this perfect sweet spot now where he knows how he can contribute to a side. It's interesting because, you know, for so long we've been speaking about you need a ball playing lock. You need a ball playing lock. Manly don't really play like that. I think maybe it's because Ches maybe is so dominant, and also obviously got Tommy through the middle there that picks up a lot of slack, I guess.
And you look at Gerbo and say, job one, first and foremost, truck it up, take the hard carry, as opposed to the last couple of years where it's been said, pass the ball, you're a link man. But when you truck it up, mate, take your boy, take Tommy Turbo on your inside shoulder and just hold it up because there'll be a lot of tries come off the back of it.
I think Sean Kepi's been pretty good the last couple of weeks too for him. He gets on and just gets through a mountain of work. Now, onto the Eels. It's getting concerning. Very concerning because who do they play this week?
We got Penrith this week into the Roosters.
And they're both coming off buys.
Yeah. They Easter Monday they play the Tigers. I reckon there's a good chance you have 2 0-5 teams going head to head there.
Wow. Yeah, let's talk about the Eels. It's this defence for them, leaking so many points. I just want to know, what has changed? They used to be, last year, not that long ago, they were so aggressive and good in defence. If anything, there were periods in their game where they couldn't put points on. Remember when they went, I think it wasn't last year, but the year before, where they just, couldn't find points. And we were sitting here going, they need to find a strike centre because they struggle. They need a strike player out in their outside backs because they're just struggling to find points. Now, they can find points, whenever they want, pretty much. But it's the leaking of points that's it's really, really concerning. I'm a bit concerned for the Eels. I really am. And I know last year it was back them to the death, rah-rah. But that's because I'd seen them early in the year beat some of the top tier sides.
And I mean, this is 3 weeks in a row of 4-point losses, which, they're in the contest, but I think this competition is going to be so close this year that giving away a start like this to other teams, I reckon it's going to be tough to rein back in. I really do. And, I mean, when I have a look at this Parramatta side, the spots that I was a little bit worried about, the edges, I think Cartwright's done really well. Dory obviously got injured on the weekend, but I thought he was doing well. Hodgson was another worry for me. He's done unreal. A lot of the problems they had, I think they have solved them pretty well on the field. Still just not getting the results.
Well, and okay, they've got players to come back, for sure. But we don't excuse the Storm when we go, they've got all these players to come back. It's they're supposed to be a powerhouse now. They're not the Eels from 5 years ago. They're the Eels that have been top 4, essentially, for the last 4 or 5 years. They were in a grand final last year. Yes, they lost 2 edge back rowers, but they should come in and they should at least have 1 win over the first 3 games. Now, I'm not saying the whole year is over for the Eels, but I do think it's concerning. Timmy, what do you reckon?
Yeah, and you see blokes like Jermaine Hopgood just throwing these willy-nilly offloads late in the game and game on the line and essentially costing Parramatta victory. Guru, who's sat here for 2 years saying he's God's gift to the NRL, and he goes and throws that shit, mate.
You came off the back fence, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Jaman.
He's giggling to himself on the way in the car. That was a tough pill to swallow. God, I copped it.
Yeah.
So it's a guy throwing an offload when you're behind on the scoreboard.
I know.
Fuck me.
And the message came through about, he said he never throws a bad offload. They were down by, 4 or 6 at the time, a couple of minutes on the clock, chasing the game. It was it was nothing in it.
But also it's okay, are we going to forget the 80 minutes, and the 80 minutes that he was fucking phenomenal? We're going to forget that? We'll just look at one offload.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. On the internet, yeah, for sure. There's so many people that were sitting there going, yes, I can give it to Guru for being wrong about Hopgood. Look.
Hope he doesn't do it in Origin anyway.
Well, actually, you would hope he does do it in Origin.
Yeah. I mean, if he's there, that'll be a big enough win for me. But anyway.
Yeah, so to the Eels, I'm just look. I do think that they will bounce back, and I think they'll bounce back. Well, against the Penrith Panthers this week, but they've got bringing Lane back, bringing Madison back. So I'm not sitting here saying that they're not going to make the 8 or whatever, but it is starting. I'm starting to get a bit concerned. They dropped too many too early, and then what happens if they get a couple of injuries when the boys get back? And it's just the points. So what was it last week? 30-plus points last week. 34 points this week. We looked at the Storm. The Storm have gone back-to-back losses. So that first game, even more so, the Eels should have beat them.
And the Storm did everything they could possibly do in the last 15 minutes to lose that game.
Yeah, so you
just weren't able to ice it.
It's, look, some positive is I thought Dylan Brown was outstanding. 167 metres run, 23 runs, 23 tackles, 0 misses. I think that's an incredible knock. It's interesting because, you look at their halves, and Mitchell Moses, I don't think he's playing poorly at all. I think he's playing decent footy. Now, sometimes the problem with Moses is he fades in and out of games sometimes, and, when you need him to, just take the game by the reins, sometimes he just, I don't know, maybe the game plan is to get to certain spots and he's sticking to the structure too much, or maybe he's not sticking to the structure enough. But it's just the fact that, I'd consider Mitch Moses a top-tier half now, and I just think that maybe even Moses of last year probably ices at least one of these games. So, but then you look at your stats, he's got the try assists, he's got the tries, he's got the line breaks. But when you're the main guy and, you're going to be on the biggest contract, unfortunately the result starts and ends with you.
Yeah, the halfback.
Which sucks, and it's unfair sometimes when you're playing mad, but he's the guy. He's the guy. You got him to a grand final. Yep. So when he gets him to a grand final, you give him the raps. But when they go 0-3, you got to go, well, unfortunately, something has to improve.
Yeah, that's the halfback's job at the end of the day. And as you said, got him to a grand final. Even if it wasn't his performances that got him there as a halfback, he'd still get the applaudance for it. Same's got to go the other way. Can I ask you a question? Ryan Madison. We've been having this argument for 2 weeks. If he comes back this week, and the injury to Matt Dory might force the hand, to be fair now, but would you have brought him back on an edge or through the middle?
On an edge.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, they're just scoring so many points against him. And I'm not saying it's the edge's faults, but, he's definitely not going 13. Jaman's got that spot.
I can see him coming off the bench and playing through the middle. I really can.
Fuck. Do you reckon they can afford that right now? They're on 3.
He plays 80 on the edge.
Yeah, I reckon he's on the field as long as possible.
Yeah.
I just don't think they got the stock to afford that anymore. Whereas last year, they had Papali'i, they had Lane on one edge. I just don't know if they can afford it.
I just don't know how much longer they can keep playing their 2 starting front rowers for 60 minutes straight.
And that's
it's outrageous.
Yeah, you need, obviously, the punch off the bench and coming through and then boys go off. But they're obviously playing big minutes. But how does a forward pack look of Campbell, Gillard and Boileau up front, Lane and Maddo on the edges, Hopgood at lock, Hodjo at 9? I know there's blokes who need to come on after that, but they're all big minute players. That's close to the best pack in the comp.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, yeah, I reckon you put him on edge. Hopgood, you got to keep it 13, even though it was probably one of his more quieter games on the weekend. As in not quiet, but I think his 2 games before that he was outstanding. This playing Junior Paulo for 66 minutes. What I don't get it. Even if what I'm not understanding is even if you've got no backup or whatever, or you don't trust them, surely you look at it and you go, well, it's a long season, because if I gas Paulo and RCG out now, there's no way I'm going to make a finals push.
He played the most games of any player last year.
I don't understand it.
He's got to play Origin in 8 weeks' time, and they're pushing him through for these sort of minutes. It's outrageous.
And even if the big fella, Junior, he probably wants to stay out there, but it's the coaching staff, in my opinion's job to protect the players from themselves. Every player would want to stay out there forever.
They're all too tough for their own good. You've got to make the best decisions for them.
66 minutes for a big bopper like Paul. Are we forgetting how Junior Paulo is considered a big bopper? If he was playing 40 minutes, you'd go, yeah, I can see that. Now, it's a credit to him because he's, one of a kind, unique big bopper that can play these big minutes. But this early in the year, 66 minutes. What's his minutes been? each game.
He went 68, 57, 66.
Fuck.
How much of a lack of faith does that show in the forwards coming off the bench? Like, we have to play you big minutes every week. Momosia, Murchie, Greg, Makatoa had 18 minutes, 34, 14 and 27, which was more than previous weeks. Matt Dury obviously left the field early, so there would have been extra minutes there probably to Momosia. But what's it say about your bench?
This is what says to me that I would play Matto through the middle. Because you look at last year, all their games, as soon as that 20-minute mark hits and he puts Matto on, like there was times there where as soon as there was a sim meeting or something, he would put Matto straight in the middle, straight away. He relies on him through the middle. He can't keep on doing what he's doing. It seems evident to me he doesn't trust any of those guys that are on the bench.
You know, the more you talk about it, the more you're convincing me, Guru.
Could you, after 20 minutes, when, say, Bolo or Campbell Gillard goes off 25 minutes, could you then shift him to the middle there and bring an edge on?
Well, you got Jack Murchie. Play him on the edge.
And Dury's been all right. Is Dury injured?
Yeah, I think it was a PCL on the weekend.
Fuck me. They are in absolute Barney rubble. Yeah, the more you talk about it, like, I'm trying to think, yeah, you need Madison on the field as much as possible, but what's more important? Your two front rowers getting a fucking spell or, you know, Madison being on an edge? Maybe it is more important to go, okay, Junior, you don't have to play 66 minutes this week. You don't have to play 55 or 50.
And I agree with both of you. I think Matto's a mad edge player. I love him there. I think it's his better spot, but I think in this team, they need him more in the middle.
It's just it's surprising because, like, I feel like they haven't really future-proofed themselves very well. They haven't prepared for being rated. And look, that's easy for me to sit here and say. They've come all the way from Spoon up to top 4. But when you look at, like, the current situation they're in, they lose 2 back rowers and they're not shot, but it's a big issue for the club. You know what I mean? They don't trust their front rowers that are coming in to replace them.
And they've got the absolute best out of Bryce Cartwright so far, I think. Like, imagine if they didn't, which I probably didn't think they would.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a lot of things that have gone their way as well that they've made work, and there's still a lot of issues there. Like, yeah. I think, Makatoa played 27 minutes on the weekend. It's the most minutes he's played. I thought he was great last year.
He was great. He was impact. He was almost like a Villi for the Rabbitohs.
But it's like he's gone off him completely.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't see a world where you can be playing Regan, Campbell Gillard and Junior Polo that many minutes this early on in the season. They don't need that many minutes. And it's not going, like, they're human. Eventually they'll fatigue.
Junior's a front row forward who's, like, he's played 200 games now.
Oh, mate.
His body has been through a lot. He's going to be a rep footballer for the rest of his career. He's going to have to play more footy than most.
He, like, led Samoa to a grand final.
And he's playing him for 60 minutes, essentially, when it's summer. Like, what is going on?
Another thing as well, I want to know what their outside back depth is like, because Wonga Blake and Bailey Simonson, unfortunately, just...
Pretty good. They're like I
thought you were saying they played pretty good.
Yeah, no, like their depth, they've got it there.
Because they've got Cini.
Zach Senior was really good in the pre-season. Unfortunately, they lost Sean Russell.
Yep.
Hayes Dunster can sort of slot in there as well.
Assie's available now too.
Assie. So they've got options.
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts about Blake and Simonson?
I've always had issues with Blake, to be honest with you. I've always said I think Blake's a better athlete than he is a footballer. If I was playing Parramatta, he'd be a spot that I would target most weeks.
Timmy?
He's very similar to Guru, I think. Yeah.
Much potential.
I'm not convinced. So much potential, but we've been saying that for so many years, haven't we?
Oh, for sure. Sure. I love Wonga Blake. I love the way he plays in regards to when he's on. He's so exciting to watch, so athletic. But just too many errors and missed tackles. And, you know, last week, Bailey Simonson, I think he dropped how many balls he dropped? 3?
Yeah, fair whack. Yeah.
And Bailey Simonson's another one. When he's on, he gets through a bunch of work, heaps of tackle breaks. But unfortunately, these boys this year just haven't been at their best. That's why I wonder what is their depth like, because it may do them well to sit and, to go to reserve grade, get their confidence back, and then come back into first grade. And I know it's hard to hear that as a player. I fucking heard it. I was in reserve grade a lot, so I heard it all the time. But sometimes it really is best to just go back, enjoy footy. The pressure's not on you as much. Just get back to loving footy and confidence in the way you play. Because Wonga Blake and Bailey Simonson, we'd all agree, they're first graders. Correct?
Yeah, for
they're
sure.
First graders, for sure. But it's just about making sure that they're confident in what they're doing. And I think at the moment they're just struggling for that self-confidence.
Assi played his first game back on the weekend, I believe, at centre. Scored a try, as did Zaxini, as did Hayes Dunster, to be fair. So, a few options there.
Do you think that they'll probably make some changes there this week?
I don't think so.
Wow.
But I don't think they're far off.
What do you reckon, another week or two?
Going up against Penrith, tough gig to bring in.
Yeah, young fellas.
Sini, Assi, Dunster.
Tell you what, Bailey Simonson's going to be doing catch and practice all week because Nathan Cleary is going to be fucking...
well, it was was it the grand final or the semi-final where Nath just peppered?
Yeah. Semi.
Semi.
It was Wonga Blake.
Yeah. Fuck. He'll be stoked he's playing centre.
Yeah, he's going, thank God.
And that's with all due. I remember talking to Roger Fabre a couple of years. I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but I asked him one day, who's the fastest? And I rattled off your Addo Carr, these guys, and he straight away went, the fastest guy I've ever coached, I think this was before Jason Saar, to be fair, he said was Wonga Blake. He said that he naturally has the best technique of anyone he's seen before. Which is unbelievable.
Yeah, so hopefully they can bounce back. If not, let's say they continue to struggle for confidence or whatever, maybe a game or two or 3 or 4 in reserve grade, get the confidence back, and then be all that, the players we know they can be.
If they come out of Penrith and Roosters 0-5, can they make finals?
Well, with Cowboys and Sharks starting the year so poorly, all of a sudden there's some spots in that top. Raiders, although they got the win, have started relatively poorly as well. Some spots have opened up in that. Like, really only Broncos are the team outside the 8 that have shot into, top 4 contention. On top of that, I still have the Storm in my 8, but it's looking tough.
But I also think spots have opened up because so many teams have improved. So many better teams. Like, I reckon it's going to be very, very hard to make finals this year if you start 0-5. It's going to be one hell. Like, they've got Matter to come back and Sean Lane. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
And 2 quality players, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot to chase, especially once you hit the Origin series and your 2 front row forwards that are playing 60 minutes aren't going to be there for 6 weeks.
How good is the NRL so far this year? 6 of the top 8 didn't play finals last year. I know it's very early on, but there's a small sample size. 6 of the 8 didn't play finals last season. The top 4 didn't play finals last season. It is so wide open.
Oh, it's so good, so good. Oh, man, if they go on 5, look, they can still make the 8, but geez, it's going to be tough. Oh my God, what are you chasing, 10 points? 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, considering their defence at the moment, which teams would you be confident in saying Parramatta beat next weekend in this comp at the moment?
Yeah, well, none really.
Tigers, outside of that, there's no one else.
The Tigers will probably get up from because it's the Battle of the West kind of thing.
But there are no teams that I'm confident in saying Parramatta would beat.
Yeah, mate, it's a tough start for the Eels. You would have thought they could have dragged one. I think if they opened the season and went 2 from 3, I think that's a massive win. Take that, run with it.
If they go 1-4, I think that's a win, honestly.
But right now, spot they're in now. They just got to get Jag 1 win somehow, some way. Otherwise, geez, it's going to be tough. Hopefully they bounce back though. It was really cool to be on that ride last year. Really, really cool. Now on to the next game. Brought to you by Bloke Beer. Get in your local, grab a case of Bloke Beer. We're in every celebrations in New South Wales, Queensland, ACT. Every bottle-o. If they don't stock us, just ask nicely, hey, could you order some Bloke in? Bloke Midi as well. Bloke Midi's going crazy. So make sure to give her a crack because it's a really good mid-strength. Now let's get to the Knights versus the Dolphins. Dolphins defeat the Knights 36-20. The Dolphins have become just the 3rd expansion team to taste victory in each of their opening 3 games. The loss was the first time Newcastle have failed to win their opening home game of the year since 2014. Dolphin forwards Kafusi was put on report twice and spent 10 minutes of the final 11 in the sin bin.
Just on that, he's fighting the charge. And it's not like a not guilty, he's just fighting to get it downgraded. And according to this, if he gets down a grade, he'll be able to play against the Broncos.
I hope he does. Okay, we'll get straight into it then. The Kafusi call. We were doing the show and I was watching it, so maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was a 50-50. I don't know how he could have pulled out of the tackle. I thought in slow-mo, it looks worse than it is. If you want to give a penalty, 10 in the bin. I don't think so. I think we're getting way too willy-nilly with his 10 in the bin. Like, we are way too ready to just send a bloke to just sin bin him. It was only 2 years ago where sin binnings were like once a month. I think we're getting way too willy-nilly with it. As I said, I can understand if there was consistency, but Suoli'i only a couple of weeks ago hit Charles Nuka-Klukstad in the back, could definitely have pulled out of the tackle. It was definitely late. It was a rush of blood. He only gets a fine, whereas this gets done as a grade 2, whereas I think Suoli'i was a grade 1. I think Kafusi's been hard done by. Yes, he's got history, but that shouldn't come into the call on a footy field. And we'll talk about the Rabbitohs as well, with Cheekham getting sent for 10 in the bin when he wasn't even the third man in. It was actually like Cam Murray was the first one to go in, and then that Butcher joined. Anyway, I don't think history should matter when it comes to calls on the field. Yes, Kafusi's got a pass, so he'll get that passed in the judiciary. So that will take care of that. But on the field, I don't know if I agree with the call, to be honest.
I think the 3 weeks is outrageous, and there's obviously prize and stuff to go into it, but I couldn't believe 3 weeks.
Do you agree with 10 in the bin?
I can understand. I wouldn't have done it, but I don't think it's outrageous as the 3 weeks.
Agreed.
I just think that, I'm all for protecting halves, and I understand that. I get that, but I'm sorry, if Jackson Hastings dummies that ball, what's Felice meant to do?
I know.
Just meant to hold off and wait until they make that. It's ridiculous. And I heard, and I've got all the respect in the world for Joey Johns. I heard his argument about it the other day that Jackson had released the ball. That's a millisecond.
Yeah. It literally is a millisecond.
It's a millisecond. I don't know. Obviously, Joey's got a horse in the race, being the Newcastle Knights and whatnot. But I don't understand where Felice Kafusi was meant to. He can't disappear. He can't. I think Joey said, he should just put his hand out to stop him. You're going at full pace. You even watched the angle his body was on. He couldn't stop himself.
He was committed to the tackle.
Committed to the tackle, exactly right, as he should be. If Jackson dummies and he hits him and he drops the ball, we're all sitting there going, Felici's building culture at the Dolphins. How good's this?
Yeah.
No, he did it the last 2 weeks on Hudson Young and Brandon Smith, and we all sat here and said, how good's that? Well done.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I honestly, what is Kafusi supposed to be like? Are you going to pass it? Then there can be no aggressive defence. Whenever a 7 gets the ball, you can't be aggressive because you have to wait to see whether they pass it, and then you've got to slide back and just hold on to them.
Yeah, and I'll throw to you because I thought you said it perfectly the other day as we got off the plane about that's what separates halves. And I know that Jackson wasn't digging into the line on that play, but that's where it starts to matter because that's what separates halves.
Yeah, exactly right. The ability to play deep into the line and create that space and force defenders to turn in on them. And the softer halves in the game, they won't do that because they don't want to be hit late and they're not willing to. So you just got to find the balance between it. I even thought Felice Kafusi on this. I'm the exact same as you boys. I think the suspension length is ridiculous. I probably wouldn't have given it a sin bin, but I understand it. I genuinely believe, if he wanted to completely wail on him there, he could have. I thought he hit him, and because he'd seen it, he'd given it. It was the last minute. The tackle was in motion. You can't pull out of it. But I thought you see him lift his arm up as if he had softened it at the last second. So I don't think he could have done a heap more there, and I hope he doesn't get his 3 to 4 weeks.
Well, the thing is if the standard was set, and this is what we're doing now, where if the halfback turns his back at all, you just cannot hit it. Then I'd be like, okay, I guess that's a stand. But literally last week, Charles Klokstad got jammed in the back. It was super late. And we were fine. I was okay with that. Charles was fine. Suoli'i, fine. Heat of the battle. Everyone's okay. Let's move on from it. But then the next week we come out and he gets 10 in the bin and a penalty. And I agree with you boys. Would have I sent him 10 in the bin? No, I wouldn't have sent him 10 in the bin. But it's not outrageous because we're trying to protect the ball players, rah-rah. But playing this stuff in slow motion, I just don't understand that either. It should be all played. Whenever we see a play like that, it should be played in normal motion so that we can get a gauge for what was the split-second decision with that. And I agree with you, Timmy. A lot of people aren't going to like to hear this, but I did feel like he was slightly trying to pull out in the last second. He still hit him. There's no denying that. But isn't that what is part of being a good 7 is you're going to get hit sometimes. And if we create an environment where the 7s almost become like quarterbacks in the NFL to a degree where you just can't touch them.
You can't go near them in the NFL now.
You can't go near them. And so it's we're taking away what makes the great halves great. Like you said, Timmy, it's like, why was Thurston so loved? Because this little fella playing for the Cowboys would go so deep into the line every single time, and he'd just bounce straight back up as soon as he got jammed. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that we should be like stoked with players getting jammed and we shouldn't protect them. Yes, protect them. But like the Kaufusi situation, 3 weeks. Yes, he's got loading, but grade 2 for that, I just think it's a bit silly.
It can be. We're sitting here. I think that we're probably all against so much is just because it was 3 weeks. It's like if it had been 1 week of Simbi, we'd be like, all right, not thrilled with it, but 3 weeks just seems intense.
And 3 weeks if he takes the charge.
Yeah,
it's 4 weeks if he
yeah.
fights it and loses.
Just for clarity, it's 3 weeks. If he had a fully clean record, it still would have been 1 week with the early play because his third offence, it was 3 weeks. Yeah.
True. So the loading coming into it, obviously.
The loading comes. I still don't think it was 10 at the bin. I honestly, I don't. But I don't think it's outrageous. I would have rather if he gets 10 in the bin, then that's punishment enough, in my opinion.
I can't believe it's grade 2. I think that's outrageous. How is that? You can't get any, like, that's the most minuscule one I've ever seen, I think.
Anyway, so I thought that was a poor call. And
it's where if you're going this hard on this sort of stuff, I'm coaching my sevens to this. I'm going, anyone touches you, you hit the deck.
Yeah, hit the deck.
You hit the deck 100%. You stay there until the ref does something, because they will. You're a halfback.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? Go as deep as you want into the line.
And turn your back as much as you possibly can.
And you just won't be getting hit. So, I don't know. I think it's people watching the game that have never, well, maybe they have been out there, and so apologies if they have, but when you're on the field, these things happen so quickly. You don't have time to think. You don't have time to be like, is he going to pass it? Is he not going to pass it? All you're thinking is, Hastings is running overs. I'm going to get to him. And then he happened to part anyway.
And as a result of it, we could lose just one of the absolute stars of the new franchise the first 3 weeks. The heart and soul of him, I think you'd say. Could lose him for 4 weeks. It's just kills you.
Over something that's like so like
a long time.
I'd understand if it was like a swinging arm to the head, or like, you know, he picked up someone and dumped him on the head. But this was something that's like a split second decision. You know, like it's not. Anyway,
if Hastings was a front row forward, I don't reckon we're talking about it.
Well, like chance. Like because he's a fullback. If Chance was a 7, Suoliti probably gets. I don't know. Again, I thought Suoliti was way later.
It was heaps later,
and it was just a brain explosion. He just wanted to be aggressive.
I've had people sending me screenshots of that moment with Hastings, where he's released the ball and the ball's that far away. And they're going, it's a metre out of his hands. I'm like, if you were to pass someone a football, how long do you think it takes a ball to travel 3 metres, let alone 1?
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
And also, like, it's a metre out of his hand. So what? You think that in half a second, not even half a second, like 0.25 of a second, you think Kaufusi's going to be like, oh, it's out of his hand, and be able to pull his whole body in a different direction when he's literally sprinting off the line. Anyway, let's get on to it. Dolphins defeat the Knights. 36-20. Look, I thought the Knights were gallant for most of this game. But at the end of the day, Dolphins go 3 for 3, and we're all sitting here going, wow. Like, it is unbelievable what they're achieving. You know, they were without Jeremy Marshall-King away, and they got the job done. They're also missing a front rower. Jared Wallace. Like, yes, it's only 3 games, and that's the disclaimer, guys. It's a long season. We get that out of the way. But the first test they've got of their depth, even though it was against an understrength Knights side, it's still away. They still got the job done.
They're running with a backline of no first graders from last year. Their halves weren't in first grade apart from injuries. Isaiah Katoa played SG ball last year. I love watching these two halves play. I think there's such a good balance of each other. Like they're just, and that they're going to improve so much as time goes on. You had Ewan Aiken in your team of the week. I thought he was unreal. Great game from Aiken.
Like Asako's playing good footy. You know, he's struggled with his consistency. Tessie New scored a hat trick, 230 metres. He was very close to getting my team of the week. And the reason why I chose Paulo over Tessie was just because it was a derby and it was his old club. And Marcelo Montoya was just a beast. But yeah, Tessie has gone from, you know, a fringe first grader to not a stalwart, but essentially him and Asako have those wing spots now, and it'd be very hard to lose them unless they play really poorly.
Yeah, Eddie Lee due back this week. There's no spots in there. Like, you're not dropping anyone, are you?
No way. And then, I mean, even Lemmy Lou, he started in the front row, ran for 134 metres, 40 post contact.
No, they put...
they played him on the edge, Bromwich in the middle.
Yeah, Kenny was at lock.
Oh, okay. Well,
worked to it, looked good.
Well, yeah. I mean, Lemilu, 134 metres on the edge then, 40 post contact, 1 tackle break, 1 line break, 30 tackles, only 2 misses.
Kenny was really good in the middle.
He's got that late footwork at the line. So underrated, Kenny. And I could have sworn Lemilu was in the middle for a period there, but maybe I'm fucking wigging out. Do you reckon they'll keep that? You reckon Kenny in the middle there?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, depending on what happens with Felice Kafusi as well, I probably think they will run with that, unless they move him back and to replace Felice Kafusi. But I thought it worked really well.
Like, when you look at this side, it's essentially all reserve graders last year, except for the Bromwich brothers, Kaufusi, and Gilbert.
All of them outside of Gilbert, we were really worried about at the end of last season.
Yeah. Yep.
Too, I thought Hamiso, I've had a lot of question marks over him at fullback. I just sort of thought, he's quick, he doesn't have the ball playing to him, and he's not ball playing like James Tedesco at the moment or anything like that. But I think you can see week on week it's improving.
Yeah. I think it's just the efforts that he does, the repeat efforts, getting involved in games. Like, that was our one question with him. Like, does he get involved enough? Does he take as many runs as he should as a fullback? But he's just getting better and better each week. Like, 13 runs for 136 metres. That's good. That's good. Like, and he's going to get more confident. He's going to find himself understanding the flow of the game better the more he plays at fullback. Because even though he's played Origin, like, essentially last year was a write-off for him because he came off the bench most of the year. So he hasn't even really played that much week in, week out first grade compared to obviously what he's going to do over the next few years. So, yeah. And the good thing with Hamiso is just like, we're not even close to his ceiling yet. We're really not. Sean O'Sullivan, how good has he been? Seriously. Like, for a guy that is a journeyman, been around a bunch of different clubs, couldn't get a start, comes up here, and now they're 3 for 3 and you're the 7. Like, finally given opportunity. It's so good. Has
there ever been a better time in the NRL to be a halfback with a heap between your ears?
100%.
And like, you look around this competition, the amount of halfbacks that, I always say if you put them in a skill tester, they'd go awfully. But they just understand footy. They know how to manage a game. Matters so much.
Now, the good thing about the Dolphins is, look at the tries they conceded. There's the Tyson Gamble off the kick. Sweet, it happens. Lockie Miller wears off the
quick tap.
Caught in goal, quick tap, whack, that, it happens. It was a mad try. And what was the other Lockie Miller try? How did he score that one again? Do we remember? I know. I think Lockie Fitzgibbon went through, maybe hit the fullback and popped it to him. So that one you put down to, I suppose, maybe a defensive lapse or an issue there. But, 2 of the 3, you could almost put a line through and be like, it's very good defensive display.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Isaiah Katoa, once again, like, the game... It's the end of the game. Could have just, put the guns away. She's all done. Boom, puts in a kick for Jermaine Asako. Get some points.
He also got, I'm sure it would have been a bit of a shock to him too. Like, he overcooked that kick that Bradman Best caught in the in-goals, half a yard. But that might as well be 10 metres off in the NRL. And it was a good little lesson for him that, Bradman Best returns to the 20-metre tap and 15 seconds later he's standing under his post. Just like, you can get away in SG ball reserve grade, but getting those things slightly wrong.
Yeah.
Really good lessons for him to learn as he goes.
Yeah, for sure.
I absolutely love that try and that style of try. And I'm curious to know if clubs train for it at all, because I would suspect they probably don't. I could be wrong, but I know it happens in like probably not even once a game where you catch it just on your line, the team are pushing through on their chase and you counter them. But I would have a call that as soon as that happens, you'd call out Tinny or whatever it might be, and you have 3 to 4 blokes get in position in a line and just counter, tip on. I think it's so underutilised. And so I don't reckon to be trained for much. And, you might not have that opportunity for 3 games on the trot, but when it does, you need to be ready to go whack, because there's gaps in the line all over the place.
Oh, for sure. Well, usually what's supposed to happen is so the fullback's supposed to be back, like you're talking like a kick return to a degree?
When they catch it, like you're saying, Katoa overcooked it by half a metre. So they caught it in goal and they had that chance. They get the
20-metre restart?
The restart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, on kick returns, similar-ish situation. What's supposed to happen is that the wingers are supposed to come infield close to where the fullback is, and the centres are supposed to hold the paint.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to create shape on a kick return. The problem is a lot of time centres are buggered, wingers are buggered. They just can't get back.
And that's the defensive line and the chasers, they're ready for that. They're prepared. They're not ready for the one that goes just in the in goal.
Yeah.
They're whack.
And on that play, as Tim said, you have your call. It should be whichever side the ball was kicked to, you tip on down that edge.
Yeah.
Because that entire edge is chased through. They're never back there.
Yeah.
There's opportunity there every single time.
Such a goer.
And like very rarely do they go boom. Like if you've chased through, very rarely do you just go boom straight off your right foot and sprint back to the 20. Usually you jog through and you're like, oh fuck, it didn't go through. You don't head straight back to the 20. No, it's
And the beauty of it is that, what was your defensive line, they all stay where they are. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
They're ready to take them on straight away.
Like worst case, I think you do it, you get a really quick play the ball.
Yeah, you're on the front foot with a 7 tackle set.
I thought Donahue, or is it Donahue, the young fella
From Newcastle.
from Newey? Okay, wow, ouch. Did okay, like 22 tackles, no misses. Fuck, I'll take that any day of the week as a not a debutant, but second game in first grade.
The second
first
or
two off
third,
the bench, I think.
Yeah, so second or third game to come on in a match like that, open the match and 22 tackles, 0 misses. I mean, that's great. It's so good.
Not that it says everything about it, but I didn't know who Donahue was 3 weeks ago. I'd never heard the name.
No, neither.
So
It says a lot if you haven't heard of him, mate.
Yeah.
to be
Well, I
fair.
wasn't trying to say that, but I kind of was. Yeah. But complete credit to him. He's done very well, and for him to show up there with no first grade reps, really unknown, and in a preseason when you've got, Ray Stone, you've got Cody Nicarima in the squad, for Wayne Bennett to go, okay, that's the guy I trust.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Oh, massively. I mean, to start him over Cody Nicarima, like Nicarima's got so many reps on the board. He's been around the block. You can trust him. He can play first grade. Just shows you the raps that Wayne must have on Donahue. But, 22 tackles, 0 misses. As a young fella, that's a good knock. It's a really, it's almost like having a try because it's tough. It's 22 tackles, 0 misses for he's not that big. It's third game, first game starting. What's interesting is so Ray Stone only got 26 minutes. I thought that was interesting. Maybe he's just trying to slowly ease his way back into it. Or maybe it's because Lemmy Lou was playing so well that he's gotten more minutes. Tommy Gilbert, outstanding. Do you reckon he'll be back in the Origin side this year, Gilbert? He's playing well.
Yeah, a lot of mouths to feed in that pack this year for the Maroons, but he's playing well enough to be. I thought he was outstanding on the weekend.
Yeah, best game for a while. Maybe best game ever, seriously. He was freaking good. Great stuff for the Dolphins. Great win. Now on to the Knights. Lockie Miller, 2 tries, ran for 212 metres. This is a hard one to judge because, you could sit here and there's 2 ways to look at it. They were super undermanned and they held in the game, or it's like they're so far off the top 8, it's concerning. They were missing KP for sure. They were missing Brayley, but they still had Tyson Gamble and Jackson Hastings, who aren't I know Gamble is a fringe first grader, but he's not terrible. He's played first grade, he's won matches in first grade. Then you look at their forward pack: Cy Feedy, Jack Hetherington. I mean, their back line is good: Lockie Miller, Hunt, Gagai, Best, Young. So, although they were undermanned to a degree, I don't really think they were that. Yes, they're missing their main guys in Brayley and Ponga for sure. And look, if this was just a one-off game where they struggled or whatever, but when you add it into the situation the club's in, to leak 36 points, it's at home in the first game against a team that, put it this way, if you wanted to make the excuse they're undermanned, well, Dolphins are currently playing with a team essentially of reserve graders.
Yep. Yep.
They're all first graders now, and so I don't know. I think it's looking like a tough year for the Knights.
Certainly is, and you throw Adam Elliott on top of that. I think that he should be in that conversation with KP and Brayley as well. I think he's going to be a really key guy for them. So they are undermanned, but you're at home at Newcastle. The performance they put on the week before with 14 players was better than what they put up there in the weekend. And look, I thought they had opportunities that they just weren't able to ice as well. They had a few that I thought, there was one where Bradman Best dropped the ball over the line. There was one that Dominic Young got up in the air, and I personally think he should have scored that for all money. So there was opportunities there, but they just can't afford to miss half chances.
Well, but like people say they're missing people, but look at this squad. Like this is their back line. So this is the Dolphins: Hamiso, Asako, Atkin, Lee, Nu. This is Knights: Miller, Hunt, Gagai, Best, Young. So they're about the same at worst. Then you go in the halves: Tyson Gamble, Jackson Hastings in the halves here. Sean O'Sullivan, Isaiah Katoa. Then you go in the forwards: Saifidi, Origin forward against Bromwich. At 9, you've got a rookie that started, Donahue versus Phoenix Croxton. Phoenix Croxton's been in it. Like, so when you go through the squad, like, were they undermanned in regards to, like, comparatively speaking? They're not going up against the Penrith Panthers at a full strength.
Yeah, and when you compare it on paper, I understand where you come from, but like we know what the Newcastle Knights are like. They're like a cake, but without KP, they've got no icing, and they need that. As I said, I agree with you on paper. It shouldn't be that much of a spread, but we know what Newcastle's like. If KP doesn't play well, they don't win.
I know, but like KP's not stopping 36 points from getting put through. Like 36 points. Like fair enough if they didn't have the points in them and you know whatever, but they had 36 points scored against them.
Yeah. But he does turn momentum for this Knights side when they get on the front foot.
Oh, there's no denying that, but like they're against a team that was reserved, like a bunch of reserve graders last year. They're not against a team that's like full of Penrith. I think it's a poor loss for the Knights. I think it's a poor loss at home, first game.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, but I don't think there is an argument. They are obviously missing key guys, and they struggle without those guys. It's a shit show.
So Dolphins were missing Jared Wallace.
Yep.
And Jerry Marshall King.
Yep.
And they were missing Jason Brayley and Kalen Ponga.
Adam Elliott, Jacob Saifidi.
You'd say I don't know if I'm not convinced yet. Adam Elliott's a key player because like I haven't really seen him do much there. I disagree. I think this is a poor loss. Like they're missing players, but they're playing against a team that's full of reserve grade. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna cut the Knights a bit of slack in this one. They came off such a gut buster against the Tigers. With it said got down to 14 blokes. It was just they had to really get into the dogfight for that one, and they did. Had more casualties included in there. Tyson Frizzell as well. I think they would have been very wounded from last week and a very understrength roster. They actually led the game up until about 56 minutes. They were up 18-16, and I think those last 20 minutes it just really showed, and last week's game took its toll on them. I think they were gassed. So, look, they're not going to come out of it happy, but I think there's genuine excuses in this one. Osaka got that late double, 2 in the last 5 minutes. I don't think it was certainly as bad as the scoreline looked, and I'm willing to cut them a few excuses, the Knights.
That's the other factor to consider that, in the last 5 minutes, yes, the Dolphins lost a player, but the Knights lost Jackson as well. So all of a sudden they're out there with Tyson Gamble running the entire show, which I think is definitely worth considering because, with all the other guys missing without Jackson, they've got no direction at all. You got a halfback playing hooker. Is Tyson Gamble a 5'8"?
Yeah. I think it's disappointing. I really do.
I don't disagree. I've said it a few times. I think it was disappointing. But
when you compare those two rosters, if you going into games thinking about all the players you didn't have, then you're thinking about the wrong things. Like that roster that the Knights have is definitely good enough to not let 36 points in my opinion. I think it's disappointing. Yeah. It's what have we been sitting here talking about the Dolphins like? Game 1 against the Roosters, and a lot of people attribute it to emotion. So let's just assume it is from emotion. Like this is the first game back at Newey. Like I just 36 points, even if it was in the last 10 minutes and like they showed gallant effort for sure. Like there's no denying they had a red hot crack, but I just think disappointing. When you compare those two rosters, it should have been a tight match, at least. Finished tightly, but the 36-20, especially after the Dolphins lost Kofusi for 10 minutes, it's just like unfortunately, I know they're missing players, but I still consider that roster on paper as good as the Dolphins roster on paper. And so, like, if you wanted a gauge of like where you would hope the Knights would be, it would be where the Dolphins are, like playing with a roster that's not so good on paper, killing it, showing grit, showing determination, like that's where you would hope the Knights are. But unfortunately, they're not. They're just, yeah.
Would you bring Greg Marshew into this side?
Oh man, well. It's where would you put him really? Hunt's decent. The problem with Marshew is obviously his defensive reads, and like Dom Young, for all his upside in attack, he made 6 errors on the weekend.
He made 6 errors.
6 errors.
Who did?
Dom Young.
Oh, Dom Young, yeah.
Yeah. And so when I see stuff like that, I'm like, that's not roster. That's just like
Marshew,
no
one try
concentration.
in cup on the weekend, 1 try, 235 run meters, 2 line breaks, 1 try assist, 8 tackle breaks.
Any errors?
Well, the problem with Marshew though, he's been doing that.
1 error.
It's all right. It's good.
He's been doing that in New South Wales Q Cup for ages. Like he was at the Eels for a while, I think, and couldn't get a crack.
Yep.
Look, I like Marshew in attack. I think we've spoken about how if he can sort out his defence, he's arguably the best attacking ball running winger in the competition. But I don't know. Did you feel Heimel Hunt played?
Oh, I don't think Heimel Hunt played terribly or anything, but I just think that Marshew gives you a little bit something extra. Like whilst they don't have these other guys, I just think I think I would rather if I'm playing Newcastle, I think I'd be more worried about marking up against Greg Marshew than Heimel Hunt.
Yeah. See, if I was the Knights, I'd be picking purely on defence.
Defence, yeah.
Because you leaked 36 points. That's what I'd be looking at.
I've got an unpopular opinion for mainly Knights fans, but I'm going to go into bat for Lachie Fitzgibbons. He cops every Knights fan I talk to, who, granted, watch obviously Knights games a lot closer than I do. They just blast the poor bugger all the time and just reckon he's no good. And there'll be some Knights fans out there who might sit with me a little bit, but I don't know. Like he's played 101 NRL games. He scored 29 tries. To start this season, there was a bit of talk of him coming in injured. Scored in the first 2 rounds with great lines. Had a really good try assist with another great line for Lachie Miller this week. Now, I'm not saying he's a superstar or any of that thing, but just all the Knights fans, because his old boy is real high up with a mob who sponsor the Knights. So I think people straight away go, he gets the luxury of being in the side for that. I don't know. I don't mind Lachie Fitzgibbons, and I think he's been really good this year in a tough start to the season.
Yeah, well, in the first trial, I actually thought Jack Johns played better than him. But ever since then, Lachie Fitzgibbons, he's probably playing. I'm not sure about career best because I don't, I'm sure Knights fans watch closer. I think he's been solid. Also, I think Matt Croker's been quite solid when he's come off the bench. Matt Croker's in an interesting spot. Like, I really do think he impacts games when he comes on.
They need to find a spot for him.
Yeah, they need to find a spot for him because I think he is quite good. I
believe he's injured the first 2 weeks, so hopefully suspended. Yeah. So hopefully there is a spot for him.
Yeah, because I think that he offers like just a bit of a point of difference in that forward pack. He's mobile to a degree. He's got an offload. He seems to like communicate quite a lot with his halves and try and set things up. But yeah,
there was one moment for me that was really concerning from the Knights camp, and I said they were sort of fatigued and battling a little bit, but it was. I'm trying to think who scored the try, but there was a kick to Dom Young, and he knocked it on, and they scooped up and scored in the corner. It might have been Tessie New.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
It might have been Tessie New, and put it down, and there was just outside of the 2 blokes contesting the ball and maybe the centre, there was just no one within cooee. And the sign of a good sort of, I shouldn't say united club, but a good side that are putting in the 1%ers is they scramble and get around the ball. There was no one near it. They sort of picked it up and went, all right, who wants it? Who wants to dive over the line?
But that's what the Dolphins are doing. Like if you wanted to polar opposites of clubs that are in a good space, Dolphins and Knights are a perfect example. Like on paper, you've got 2 sides that essentially, in my opinion, are the same on paper. You've got one scoring 36 points and is 3 in a row. You've got another one who, ground out a gutsy as performance last. There's no denying it was gutsy as anything. But the Tigers were absolutely, really poor. And then they lost to the Warriors in round 1. Now, look, maybe Warriors are playing better than we thought they were, and we got to give them credit. But I don't know, man. I just think there's just that intensity that we've been talking about in the off-season missing for the Knights. They don't hunt as a pack the way the Dolphins do. Like even the Dragons, for example, like I thought for 70 minutes of that game against the Broncos, they did what they were supposed to do as a Dragons side. Obviously that last 10 minutes was a blowout, but I think, it's the Knights, it's just, it's tough. It's tough.
There was, going back to the Dolphins quickly, there was a tackle I forgot to mention that Sean O'Sullivan made on Lockie Miller, where they made a break down the right side. He threw it back in, and Miller was gone for all money. And Sean O'Sullivan, who I would probably argue is the slowest halfback in the competition, he worked his... that's respectfully, he's one of the smartest between the ears, seemingly, so you can't have it all. But he worked his ass off to get there to make that tackle on Miller. It was a really good effort, and it was a real sort of game-breaking moment, I thought.
Yeah, so hopefully Knights can bounce back. It's going to be interesting to see what the news is on Brayley. I doubt Ponga will be back next week, but it'll be interesting to see whether Brayley is back next week, because he definitely does shore up that middle for him quite a bit.
You'd have to think at some point this week there's going to be a round table with KP and everyone else, and it could be one of the most important meetings of club's history.
The club's wrapped around Ponga, like he's the main guy for them, and going forward, it's. I feel so sorry for Adam O'Brien. Like in the start of a year where, his job's clearly being talked about. Fair enough if he has a fit roster and he doesn't get the job done, and you go, okay, well, you had your chance and whatever. But like, in games like this, I wish that we saw a bit better defensive resolve, especially the last 10 minutes. But like at the same time, losing Brayley, losing Ponga, how can you expect him to win enough games to make the 8 when... Yeah. So it's... I don't know what they do with O'Brien. I feel, as I said, look, he's been there for a while now, so he's had opportunities to bring it all together, but at the same time, pretty unlucky, the poor fella.
And that's what I do feel sorry for him, that, he moved KP, and yes, he got concussed, but you got to remember, 3 weeks before the start of the season, he had an injury as well, so he missed the start of the pre-season. They had a fullback who's played, 10 games of first grade, who arrived 3 weeks before the season started. Adam Elliott had his groin injury. They wanted him to play in the 13 role, so he's part of your spine. He missed most of the preseason, then lasted 20 minutes of the first game and was injured. It hasn't been easy for them.
Oh, no. It definitely hasn't been easy. Yeah. You would hope that by this year there would be like some identity that even whoever comes through, it's like, look at the Dolphins, like look at the identity they're already building. It's like this gritty, tough, just refuse to fucking
like whenever
lose.
you hear like Joey and Maddie talk about the old Newcastle Knights, their motto was just show a jersey all the time. And I watched Cody Nicarima score that try from dummy half the other night. Just thought that would have never happened at Newcastle.
Oh, and see that when I see stuff like that, it's like that's not personnel. It's not. It really isn't. Like, unfortunately. So hopefully they can bounce back. I have a soft spot for the Knights. I really do. Maybe it's the Joey nostalgia, but I've got a soft spot. Hopefully they can bounce back.
I think they got the Raiders next week.
Look, it's a winnable game. Like, yeah, they're missing people, but the Raiders weren't bloody outstanding last week.
Raiders in Newcastle. Yep.
It's winnable.
It's very winnable.
You know what? I reckon this will give us a really good gauge as to, like, not who's more right in regards to how disappointing, but where they're really at. Like, are they more towards me where I'm going, I'm super disappointed, whoever wears that jersey shouldn't be league at 36 points, or was it they were fatigued from last week, they were missing KP, it's going to take some time for them to adjust to the new people that are in there.
I personally don't think a stack changes unless KP's on the field.
Yeah.
I think they really lack that X factor.
Yo, ouch.
Like at the end of the day, you buy Jackson Hastings to get the best out of KP.
But surely there's other ways to navigate.
I reckon if they had a Wayne, they probably could. But I'm not sure if Adam O'Brien's the guy to be able to overcome all these things.
Yeah, tough.
As tough as it is.
It's so, man.
And there's a lot of coaches that wouldn't be able to overcome what they're going through at the moment, I think.
Well, we've seen time and time again, there's 4 really good coaches, and then some join them, but really the rest is just getting churned through.
Yeah.
Now, shout out to Queensland. Great Western Hotel, Rockhampton. Obviously, we were there the other night. Fantastic place. They have our beer. Arana Leagues Club, both bottle shop and on-premise. That's Arana Leagues Club. Black Sheep, Newmarket. Common Ground Cellars in St. Lucia. New retail near University of Queensland campus. Caxton, big game this weekend at Suncorp. So go into Caxton and drink some of mother's milk before the game. That's right, Broncos v the Dragons. So make sure to head into Caxton. Bloke is on tap at the Caxton, and they go through heaps of kegs a week. So head down there, grab some Bloke. Pittsworth Hotel. We have a new stockist for Bloke beers. Rachel and Jane at Bottle Mart in Pittsworth. So if you're in the Pittsworth area, head down and grab a case of Bloke. Mount Isa Hotel. They are co-sponsoring with Bloke the local Constabulary in the QPS Rugby League tournament. Go see Matt for your Bloke beers when in Mount Isa. That's Mount Isa Hotel, co-sponsoring with Bloke, the local Constabulary. Apologies if I'm getting that wrong. Do you know what that word is? Constabulary?
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 I don't know what it means, but
yeah,
I don't know if
constabulary.
I pronounced it right, but that's my crack, mate.
That's a Mount Isa Hotel. Duke of Edinburgh Hotel. Lee and his team at celebrations up at Mackay. That's Duke of Edinburgh in Mackay. Red Beret Hotel, another great supporter of Bloke in the Bottle Mart in northern Cairns. Dave and the boys have always got Bloke beer and are ready to go. That's Red Beret Hotel in Cairns. And we'll be up in Cairns this Friday. And Charlie's Hotel, Scotty and a team at Gympie, biggest drive-through, will sort you out for your Bloke beers in Gympie. That's Charlie's Hotel. Now on to huge clash. Roosters defeat South 20-18. Roosters get the job done. I do think that both teams probably didn't play their best footy, but it was an extremely entertaining game. So wasn't the highest quality, the completion rate, the amount. There was a period there where it was like error for literally like 6 sets. I think that was due to the heat, but super entertaining game. Some big talking points, Cheekham being sent for 10. Should have it been him? Should have been someone else? But outside of that, super entertaining game, and Teddy once again steps up in the big games. I thought Jackson Polo coming back against his old club that didn't fight that hard to keep him. He was really good in the big moments. Victor Radley had his moments as well, got through a bunch of work as he always does. Sam Walker's defence continues to be really, really strong, which is really impressive. And Hargreaves off the bench was absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
Let's talk about JWH. What an impact he has on this footy side.
Jesus. How's he still doing it?
For 10, 15 years, he just... I don't know. Like you can probably talk about it more, Kevin, but I imagine he has got that Shane Webke sort of feel to him where you know that he's going to be on the field with you, and you just lift every single time. Like I can't remember what the stat was, and it was a few years ago, but I'd be shocked if it's changed about their win rate, their win percentage with him and without him. It's unbelievable for a guy that's not playing in the spine or anything. Yeah, it's crazy.
And his body must be hanging on by a thread.
I remember 2021 thinking at the start of that year, they'll start to ease him off minutes. They had all the injuries. He averaged 65 minutes that season, and then he comes in. The biggest rivalry game, and he's the one that stands up again.
Incredible.
First game of the season for him in the heat, 38 minutes, 174 metres.
Incredible. I reckon it would have been so when was their back-to-back? It might have been before their back-to-back years. So before that, so what? That's 18 and 19?
Yep.
Was it? So 17, where I was I think Hargreaves might be at the end of his career. I think he... maybe easing into veteran status. He's been there, done it, won comps, rah. Maybe it's Super League. And then he's just this second part of his career, he's almost he's gotten better.
In 2018, you would have sat there and said, Takiaho's going to be the guy moving forward. He's already come and gone. Maria Hargraves is still doing the same thing.
It's crazy.
Isaac Liu, he was a similar guy. He's starting to mature now. Yeah. They've let him go.
Am I alone in thinking 2017 you're kind of starting to see him as past his best?
I think you started to see limited minutes sort of during that 18, 19, 20 period, but then they had all those injuries and they just went, fuck it, we don't have a choice now.
Because I swear, 2017 I was starting to think is he still at the top of his game? Is he still a premier front rower? And then 2018 rolls around, and ever since 18, he's just exploded. And
there were so many question marks over him when they first signed him from Manly. He was a lunatic when he came over from Manly, and it was almost a strange signing for the Roosters, and they've just managed to build. He's won 3 comps.
I know, it's incredible.
Doesn't that feel like a lifetime ago?
So long ago. Yeah.
Mate, he is absolutely phenomenal, and just the mental fortitude to be able to continue to push through, continue to deliver. The biggest game of the year or so far against the Rabbitohs comes off the bench and impacts like that. It's just incredible. It's so good. What do you think of the game, Timmy?
It was just that classic Roosters Bunnies rivalry, wasn't it? That
Yep.
all planning, all direction, any of the norms in rugby league just go out the window. Turned into a dogfight, as you said, Kempy. The quality probably wasn't the best we've seen from either side, who traditionally two pretty slick sides when they're humming along, but such an entertaining game of footy. Could easily have gone either way. I remember pretty early on in the game I was thinking, Bunnies looking all right, they could put a few on here, and it just said JWH came on and swung the momentum in the Roosters' favour. Great game of footy.
Campbell Graham-Suaalii's battle was absolutely outstanding. And I think a lot of people are finally starting to see Campbell Graham is a top-tier centre in the game. Like, not just like... And I know people say, well, of course, and he made the Australian squad. Yeah, but people still underestimate Campbell Graham. I think in the battle, he won against Suaalii.
I thought it was a knockout victory, to be honest with you.
Campbell Graham took it to him every single time. And that's to take nothing away from Suaalii. He's still super, super young, got so many years. But I think there's a lot of people, if you said, Suaalii is going to go against Campbell Graham, a lot of people wouldn't even think of Campbell Graham winning that battle. He won that battle.
We were having beers on Thursday night and we said this, didn't we? We were like, that matchup's going to be unreal. We said the same thing. Everyone will go Suaalii. And we were so confident Campbell Graham was going to... He's a freak, Campbell Graham.
Unbelievable. Seriously. And he's in this really weird spot where you've got Jack Whiten, who kills it at Origin, and then you've got Matt Burton, who was good as well as Origin. Then you've got Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell. If he doesn't play Origin at one point in his career, it'll be a travesty. He deserves it. He he deserves it. He is so fucking good.
He'll get his chance because he's still young, and the best thing about him is, as we saw in the World Cup, he can go between wing and centre so easily. So it might take a few injuries, but it'll happen at some point.
Surely. He's so good. I don't think people will appreciate, Suaalii is one of the best young players we've seen in a long time. And to take it to him like that, and also make it a point of taking it to him. Campbell Graham's only, 23 years old? He's 23 years old. He's still young himself. But to go, in a rivalry, I'm going to go take it to the young buck that everyone thinks is the man, and potentially win the battle. How old is he, matey? He's 23. So still young as. Yeah. Far out, man. And I know there's going to be people that he made the Australian squad. What are you talking about? But I don't care what anyone says. Campbell Graham is still underrated. He's still not appreciated for... He should be a superstar. He should be a super... That's how good I think he is.
And if he wasn't coming along in an era where New South Wales had so many fullbacks that they have to play him at centre, he would be picked now. Mm-hmm. And I don't reckon he'd be left out for a very long time.
He's made for Origin. He's going to make a couple of mistakes. Yeah. He gets it right every single week. Every time. And he's so aggressive and physical. The physicality he plays with every week, I'm going, Stretch, how are you doing it, big fella?
Put it this way, this time last year when we did have Latrell out and Tommy Turbo out, and his name was thrown in the mix, but they obviously went with Stephen Crichton there. If the time came around now, Campbell Graham's going straight in there, I think.
Yeah. Surely. So would you put him as front of Whiten, or would you put Whiten in there? Let's say Tommy was injured or Trell.
I'd go Jack Whiten because he's been superb and proven it time and time again. Because it was Stephen Crichton got to run, Tony Stagg's got to run in Origin 1. Again, you're putting Campbell Graham in now,
for sure.
12 months on.
For sure. No, I agree. Campbell Graham, outstanding. We'll get back to the Roosters though. Great win for the Roosters. Great win for their confidence. A bit of an up and down start. They get the job done against the Warriors, and it's a bit, touch or go. And you're going, okay, was that just the Warriors losing the game, or was that the Roosters winning the game? Then they come out in this derby and they kept their cool. They kept their head. They've still got a relatively young team, but they're still missing so they're missing. So Hargreaves' first game back, but they've got Egan Butcher, Nat Butcher. So basically, their back row they're missing.
Crichton and Tupanua.
Yeah, Tilly and Crichton.
Matt Lodge.
And they got missing Matt Lodge. So when you see that, you go, well, this is the sign of a good club. They're missing troops against the Rabbitohs, and granted, the Rabbitohs are also missing a couple of players. Who are they missing?
Jai Arrow's missing.
Yeah.
Sele came back. He got knocked out in the first minute. There's one more. I can't remember. But yeah, Arrow's definitely missing. He's a big one.
And so, that's a sign of a good club where they come back, they're missing quite a few players. They've got one of their main guys coming off the bench, and they just come on and kill it and just get the job done.
Just having a look at just a complete sidetrack here, but their reserve grade side. Guy named Alan Fitzgibbon, who was at the West Tigers a couple of years ago, fell out of their system. He scored 5 tries on the weekend for the Roosters. 5 tries.
Mate, honestly. What position is he?
He's a winger, but they scored 6. He scored 5 of them.
Far out. And he was at the Tigers, last year?
2 years ago, I reckon, yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm looking at this reserve grade side. I don't know any of the other guys that are in the back line. And do you remember how many guys they had in the trial? We were going, geez, he's a good centre.
Yeah.
He's a good winger.
Yeah. Where's is it Palga?
Oh, yeah. He didn't play Reggie's on the weekend. He might have been like 18. He might be injured or something. I'm not sure. But
maybe injured.
The depth is unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy. So really good win. Let's talk about the sin binning. Look, I think it was fair for Joey Manu to get sin binned, coming across with a swinging arm like that, with a new standard that's been set. But if you ever wanted an example of sometimes they're just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, that's an example. How Cheekham gets sent 10 for third man in when he wasn't even the third man in. We all can see the replay. Oh, it blows my mind. Cam Murray runs in because Joey Manu first head high and then walked and stood over, who was it? Tass stood over him. So Cam Murray runs in, pushes and shoves him. Then Nat Butcher jumps in as well. Then Cheekham comes in, doesn't even do anything. He just goes to grab him and misses him. And then the bunker's like, we've got to send someone for 10. We'll just send a random bloke that was in the push and shove. If you're going to send anyone, it's Cam Murray. And I love Cam Murray. And also what's crazy is the ref is literally talking to Cam Murray to send Cheekham off. And you're going, bro, you literally saw Cam Murray run in and push Joey Manu. Look, I think that I would have been okay with no one getting sent 10 in the bin because Joey Manu was the one that head high. And then he was also the one to, stand over Tass while he was down. So it's mate, you're inviting people to come over and stand up for their mate. But if you're going to send someone, surely it's got to be Cam Murray.
Cheekham wasn't the third man in. He was the third Rabbitoh in. It was outrageous.
Crazy.
How was the room we were sitting in? There was probably 15 guys, and the whole room went, Cheekham? We didn't even realise he was in it.
It's like they closed their eyes and went, boop, that guy, get him off.
I reckon they just, the ref looked like he threw up his, as refs tend to do when there's a sin bin and there's a bit of an all-in scuffle, they feel the need to sin bin another bloke as well. And he's just sort of thrown up a random willy-nilly, 10 in the bin, didn't really direct it to anyone, probably leant towards Cam Murray, edging it for, we mean Cam Murray, and then Cam just sort of looked over Cheekham and goes, bro, you take this one from us. And Cheekham's going, yeah, bro, I got it. So he started walking off and ref's like, all right, sweet, we got our square up, moving on.
Unbelievable. Seriously. What's crazy as well, they are watching the same replays we're watching. In the video, I just cannot believe it.
I hate that when there's a little thing like that, they just feel like someone has to go from both teams. Well, did they do anything wrong or not?
Yeah.
Because no.
And and also are you gonna admonish Joey Manu for standing over a player that he just head high? No, you're not. He's not. So we've got to take care of it because that's our player that just got head high. So we have to go in and stand up for our mate. It's bizarre. I don't know how they do it, and it just doesn't ruin a good game. I take that back, but it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
If you had just said, Cam Murray, you're gone for 10 because you came screaming in, I would have been fair enough. I probably wouldn't do it because I think it was initiated by Joe Manu, but fair enough. But to send Cheekham off, he did literally nothing. And also, what I could believe is how much Cheekham just was like, oh, yeah, sweet, I'll go off. Yeah. I would have been going, are you serious? I fucking didn't do anything.
I love that you're starting to see that more and more from Cam Murray, though.
Yeah, for sure. Well, he's a captain now. He's taking the responsibility. Someone's like, it's because Cam Murray never runs in and does that. Cam Murray runs in and does that regularly now.
Last week too.
And he did it for Australia as well against, I think, New Zealand.
Yeah. And growing up, he was the politest, nicest kid. He couldn't have thought of anything worse. But you can see that he's just taken that upon himself now.
Oh, mate, we forget that he's captain. He's young as shit too. So anyway, it is what it is. But outside of that, great win by the Roosters. It's a really important win because they get confidence now. Now, do I think that they're the world beaters that we would hope they'd be? No, they looked clunky. There were periods where the Rabbitohs probably could have won the game. And I think there were one incredible try saver from Joey Manu Isaiah Tuss gets the ball. He's over for all money. Joey somehow gets a hand around and hits the ball out. Pretty much a match winner. Well, it was a match winner.
One thing, Kempy, I think we're seeing now that Egan Butcher is an out-and-out middle forward. We've seen, like, he's there out of necessity because they've lost Angus Crichton and Satili Tupanua. So I think they do see him as a middle. But I was quite excited early on to see him get bigger minutes on the edge. But his defensive positioning hasn't been great. He's making a few errors. Like, the timing of his lines aren't quite there. And I think he's just an out-and-out middle that he's a big worker. Doesn't have to make too many decisions in the middle. And because he is a bit of a lighter forward, he's got a bit of nimble footwork throughout the middle. Now, until they get edge back rolls back, I'm not sure if they can put him back there, but definitely a middle.
I agree with you. And he has made 2 errors on the weekend. I'm pretty sure he made a couple errors the week before as well. And maybe that's because his head space is a bit off because he's on an edge rather than in the middle just getting through the hard work.
It's just to show that not every player can, and particularly like we talk about the more nimble and I suppose smaller players, can make that move from a middle to an edge. They're vastly different positions, and we'll get to a team shortly that I'm going to talk about it, but it shows the value and quality of a player that can switch between the two because it's not easy to do.
Well, I mean, Angus Crichton's a perfect example.
Exactly right.
Like
Ryan Madison before.
Yeah, and that's the reason why Angus Crichton, Dally M back rower, always, every single year, he's always at the top tier, whether he's playing in the middle or on an edge. When he goes into the middle, sometimes in Origin, he kills it. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think Egan Butcher's got a massive potential. Massive potential. It's just finding that right spot for him where he feels comfortable, I will say, like, Fletcher Baker as well. Like, it's not like these guys killed it or anything, but they're getting minutes into them. They're battling. They're hanging in matches. And that's what you want from young guys. Like, when you're down troops, you just want them battling. Just battle. Like, the other stuff will take care of itself. And so they're going to be better for it, the Roosters, when they get later in the year. Let's say they get all of their troops back. They're going to be much better for it that these younger fellows have gotten some battle-hardened minutes. And I think Trent Robinson is leaning quite heavily on that.
Yeah.
What do you got, Yuri?
I just got one last thing to mention. I thought it was a big moment. We said how well Campbell Graham played. He went through at one point, and I think we spoke about it the other night. James Tedesco made a one-on-one tackle on Campbell Graham.
Yeah, dummy too.
I don't reckon most fullbacks would have made it.
For sure.
Like, and not only did he got him to the ground. There wasn't an offload. There was nothing. It was just a perfect tackle on a big body like Campbell Graham at full pace. Not many guys would have made
Had
it.
no right to stop that. It was a clear-cut 2-on-1. He was backpedaling. He just positioned himself perfectly to somehow make Campbell Graham go, do I dummy or pass? Like, I don't know. Yeah. It was unreal.
Yeah, it was such good. He's so good at that, Teddy. Is like putting an attacking player in two minds. Yeah. And you could see Campbell Graham's like, because I think there was someone else as well chasing the winger that was outside him. So he was like, that's a tough pass. And then boom, before he knew he was getting tackled by Teddy. Another one, Jackson Paulo, 2 tries against his old club, 192 metres. We spoke about it last year when he got signed by the Roosters. Like, don't count this kid out yet. He has super amount of potential, a huge amount of talent. He's not a huge winger, but he's a pretty big winger. Like, he's not small, that's for sure. And who knows? Maybe there's a reason why Trent Robinson has gone with him initially, and he's doing his job and doing it well. So I thought that was a really good showing for him.
Oh yeah, obviously we were doing the live show whilst it was on, so we were sort of going back and forth. But there's another little scary moment there with Victor Radley. I was sort of watching it live. I sort of thought, that might be his night done. Thankfully it wasn't, but you just want to see Rads just get through unscathed, don't you?
Yeah, I know. It's like I don't even like talking about it anymore because it's just like bad juju. Yeah, that's right. But no, you're right, Guru. It was a scary moment, and it's getting, the more it happens, the more I get worried. That's the truth. It's just the truth. Keon Koloamatangi played fantastic for the Rabbitohs. Fuck, he was good. He's such a beast on the edge there. That flick pass that he did, so good. Cam Murray obviously get through a mountain of work. Look, I don't think it's like, so the Rabbitohs, they're 1-3 now? 1-2. Sorry, 1-2. Like, it's the way they're losing, though, I'm happy with. Like, I'm happy with it. I know it sounds a bit crazy because you're like, but they've played Penrith, lost by, how much did they lose by? A try?
4 in the end or something? Yeah.
4. They play Roosters, so the 2 premiership favourites lose by 2 points. And also, it was essentially their own doing in regards to they could have completed more rah-rah. I'm happy with where the Rabbitohs are at.
It's exactly how they started last year.
Yeah.
Their wins were good and their losses were good too.
62% completion rate compared to 76. Like, if they complete at 76 as well, they probably win the match.
Yeah. And there was even like I know you just gave him a rap and he played well, but Colin Tungy, like that try that he conceded to Brandon Smith, I don't think you'll ever see him do that again.
Yeah,
He's
just switched off.
Completely stuck in the mud.
Yeah, just switched off. Just that second of concentration.
Just that split second, yeah.
But I'm happy with where the Rabbitohs are. I really am. And I think that they're only going to get better when they get their troops back as well. Again, you know what it is? And I hate to harp on it, but like, and I know that the Roosters and Rabbitohs are a different club to the Knights, but like, this is the performances I want to see when your troops are down. Just gutsy. Like, yeah, okay, you might not complete as much. Yeah, okay, you might not have all the stats in that. This is what I want to see from your club. Just gutsy as anything, fight until the death. And this is why they're a top-tier club.
And I mean, we're 3 weeks into the comp. They've lost their starting front rower in the first minute twice, 2 out of 3 games.
Yeah, and just hung in.
So what, when we can get 10 weeks of harm Cello straight,
yeah,
fuck, we're going to have a footballer in our hands.
Well, there was a period, was it last year or the year before, where he killed it? Last year?
He just can't put together 6 games, though.
Poor
There's just
bloke.
always something.
And so, this is what separates the top-tier clubs from the bottom-tier clubs, in my opinion, is troops are down and they go out and put on a performance like that. Yeah, it's not pretty. Yeah, it's not all the other things that, we hope it to be, but it's gutsy and it's hanging in matches.
And I mean, like, you've got to wonder, considering the amount of injuries and stuff they've had to start the year and, losing Harm Sally, if Jairo was available, some of these losses could be wins, I reckon.
Yeah, they could be. They really could. And so they've put themselves in a position where they're not going to lose confidence. They're building good standards. Yeah, that's why they're a top-tier club. So, good game for both teams, to be honest. Like, obviously the Rabbitohs lost. They're devastated, rah-rah. But once again, it's a loss that you can kind of cop, in my opinion, because you're like, they were gutsy as anything.
What about that pass that Latrell threw to AJ? Like, when Latrell throws that ball, like, you don't even have to be out of position. Your hips just have to be turned on a slightly wrong degree, and that's enough. He'll make you pay for it.
Yep.
That pass was incredible.
And like, as a winger, you literally you don't even have to look at the ball coming to you. You can just run like that, and it's going to land right in your hands.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Jackson Bolo was caught out of position from it, which says 2 things. One, that it shows Latrell's awareness to catch him out. But the ball was so good, it made him look ridiculous. It was just a peach.
His balls cruise, but they look like they hit soft.
I know, it's bizarre.
It's unbelievable.
And the motion in which he does it, like he's not trying, it's just boop, like nothing.
I don't know if I've seen someone that flicks a ball better than what he does.
It's crazy.
Like, you look at the KP, the way that he ball plays with his long spiral. The way that Latrell does it is unbelievable. And at top pace too.
Yeah.
Like, Lockie used to have a great flick, but he'd plant his front foot.
Yeah.
Latrell just does it at top pace on the fly.
And he's 100+ kilos. It's just incredible. Fuck, it's good to watch. We're so lucky to be able to see that, like a guy like Trell do what he does. Like, if you tried to explain to someone that there's a guy as big as him doing what he's doing, you'd be like, yeah, you're kidding yourself. That's not normal.
Yeah. Fuck, I remember sitting there, 3 or 4 years ago going, don't know if he's got the skill set for fullback. He must have just been sitting there going, you dickheads.
No, nothing. Yeah, incredible. So, yeah, you could look at the fact that they didn't complete at high percentage as a negative, but those things get cleaned up towards the end of the year. What you always want to be looking at is, what is their fight like? Do they hang in it? Do they fight for every tackle? Do they cover for each other? And I think both clubs proved that on the weekend. Now on to, you would say a huge upset because obviously they were the betting favourites, but I think it's the way that the Titans defeated the Storm that was shocking. To score 38 points against a Melbourne Storm side who, going into this clash, had such a disappointing loss at home against the Dogs. Like, we have been so conditioned to, what's the cliche? Anytime the Storm loses, you're like, wouldn't want to be the team they play next week. Which is a credit to the organisation. Everything we're about to say, in a roundabout way, is a credit to the organisation because of how incredibly high the standards have been set for so long. But I've got to say, this is extremely disappointing for the Storm. Their completion rate, it seems to be like a common, a common occurrence in some of the teams that are struggling. It's like, okay, maybe you might have some players out. And that's totally understandable. You got Cam Munster out and Nass is out. They don't complete sets for you, though. That's all attitude. That's all it is. Really disappointing loss for the Storm. Look, great win for the Titans, but it's a Titans win. It's a 38-34 win. You're not going to build a season on that. So great win for sure, no denying. But 38-34, what do you reckon, Guru?
They just play tennis, don't they, the Titans? They just happen to go try for try.
Fuck.
That's bizarre because, we were talking about it the other day, like their attack has never been the problem. They've had X amount of years to solve their defence and nothing changes.
Look, there's what we're speaking about on the weekend. With this Titans, they are probably the only club in the competition that you can specifically look at the game that they play and go, that's what needs to be fixed, and you'll be in the finals footy. It's their defence. And they're just never, it's bizarre.
Yeah, and Jim Dimmick left at the end of last year, and all Titans fans said, "Oh, Jim Dimmick's gone. He was the problem." Yeah, it's been the problem for the vast majority of your existence in defence, and continues to be to this day.
Bizarre.
Please.
Yeah, it is bizarre. Which feels harsh. They got the win, which is great. But yeah, 38-34. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, you'd almost prefer, this sounds ridiculous, but them to have lost 10-8, but showing defensive resilience. You could be like, all right, long term, this bodes well better for us than conceding 34 points. I think the moment that summed it up for me with the Storm was, there was 20 to go, they were down by 6, Tanner Boyd put a kick in from his own 40 downfield, and Trent Loiero just pushed him while he was in the air and gave away one of the dumbest penalties I've ever seen, just avoidable, I should say. They went upfield and got a penalty where the ball landed, took the 2 and went up by 8. And I was like, well, that essentially was the difference in the game. That in a Melbourne Storm team, it's just so uncharacteristic.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's so a unnecessary penalty, lack of discipline.
Yeah.
You just don't see it in Storm sides. So the possession was 50-50, but Storm completed at 63%. They only completed 24 sets. This is the Melbourne Storm we're talking about here. Again, it's not about personnel. You would rather, from the Storm's perspective, go up there, complete at 90%, and get beaten, 16-10. Because then you can go, well, at least the stuff that we can control, we're controlling. Whereas right now, at 63%, you're not beating many sides. Especially, you're not the Storm of yesteryear currently. Now, they may come back and become the team that we know they are, but right now, they're not clicking the way they were in yesteryear. Now, apparently, Munster's back, but the problem is Hughes is out this week now due to suspension. What's your thoughts on the Storm?
Nas is such a hard one to replace too, I think. And as you said, it doesn't change your completion rate and all that, and I agree with. But even when they are completing and everything, it's always Nas, or it was Brandon Smith last year that could break games open for them. I just kind of feel like they're lacking that guy as well. I know you said before, and I said the same thing last week, Jews wouldn't want to play the Storm next week.
Yeah, I said it.
I'll say it again this week. Tigers going to Melbourne. I wouldn't want to play the Storm this week. But based on their form, I don't know.
What's crazy is so what's funny, so we have my show with Smithy. There's this sponsor, it's a Shaw, the name of the company is Shaw, and so it's a Shaw thing that we talk about. I've gone to Storm twice as a Shaw victory, twice, whereas this week, I'm not so sure they beat the Tigers. I'm really not, which is insane to think.
Does he ever go Storm for a Shaw thing? Or do you steer clear of them?
No, he tries to stick clear because they're his team, and everyone's going, well, you're biased kind of thing. Yeah. Insane. The Tigers going down there, there's no one. I wonder what the odds are going to be, because it'll be interesting to see if money gets put on the Tigers after what the Bulldogs did to the Storm down there. We'll stick to the Storm first, and then we'll get to the Titans. It's hard because it's only been 3 games, and they obviously won the first game. But I personally can't remember a time where I've seen the Storm like this. I just haven't. It's not the fact that they've missed troops before, that have games where they haven't completed, but they just don't look like anywhere near the Storm that we know.
And even missing troops, we've seen for the last 15 years that during the Origin period, they're missing more troops than anyone. And they still compete, still win games of football, they still hang in the grind. For them to score 34 points and lose, very un-Melbourne.
And also, they've lost to Doggies, Titans. Back-to-back, that's just unheard of with the Storm.
Just so you know, I was going to leave it to the end, but we might as well bring it up. The Storm are $1.35, and the Tigers are $3.25, and the Lions $9.5.
I mean,
when's the last time Tigers were less than $4 down in Melbourne?
Ages ago. Especially like the Tigers, they have been poor as well. They're favourites for the spoon.
It's not like the Tigers are coming in with form.
Yeah.
They're coming with anything but that.
Literally is favoured for the spoon. Put it this, let's say this continues for the year for the Storm. I can't see Bellamy retiring on a year like this. Surely not.
He'd want it. He'd want to dig them out of it and be going out with not even him on top, but just the club being on top, or top 4, in a strong position.
In a strong position. There's no way if they struggle. Now the question has been asked, and it's a scary question because we're talking about the Melbourne Storm. Year after year after year, they prove us wrong. Do they make the 8 this year?
I think they will.
Yeah, I think they've still got too much star power and experience to miss out, but I think they can grit their way to 8th.
Matty?
Yeah, I'm not prepared to say no at this point, but I can see why the question's been asked. But this early, I'm not gonna say yes. They're still in my 8.
Yeah, because of their history as a club, I say they make the 8.
And still, I'm really intrigued to see how Pappenhausen comes back, but they can get Pappy there, Munster, Hughes, Harry Grant, and then Nass back. It's still a bloody elite side. So, there's question marks around all of them fitness-wise, so maybe they don't. But if they can get them on deck, you've got to back them in, I think.
If I had no prior history of the club and I just was watching purely 2023 form, I would say they're a real chance of missing. But because I know the club and the history of the club, Bellamy will find a way. He'll grit his way to an 8. He'll bloody put on some boots and play to make that 8 if he has to.
It'll be funny if they come 8th, besides the 2010 year. If they come 8th, it'll be their worst season in 20 years. The lowest they've gone just on the table, besides 2010 salary cap year, is 6th.
Imagine that.
Since 2002.
They get to round 10 and they've only won a couple of games, and team this Tuesday, 4 o'clock comes out and Bellax just dropped Munster and he's run himself out at 5'8". Got an exemption to elevate himself into the top 30.
And he fucking kills it.
And he kills it.
So did you say 2002 was the last time they finished 6th?
No, so 2002 they finished 10th, and then in 2003 they finished 5th, and they haven't been out of the final since then, bar 2010.
So when did they finish 6th?
Last time they finished 6th was 2014.
Wow. What an incredible club.
They went out in straight sets that year too, I think. Yeah.
But I mean, what an amazing club. Again, we're talking, you can only compare them to themselves, really. What other club has been that dominant over such a long period?
And as we said, outside of the salary cap year, even the Roosters, they have their years where they duck down, and they've got years where they finish 13th, 14th, 15th. For 6 to be your floor.
Absolutely wild.
There's teams that would be begging for 6 to be their ceiling.
Yeah, literally.
We spoke about, I spoke about when they do get all these blokes back on deck, but God forbid they're to lose Harry Grant, because he was just their heart and soul on the weekend in extreme heat. He gave everything up into the final minute of that game. There are times where he'd look up and just go, shit, I've got to do this myself because I'm not getting much of a hand. And if he goes down, they've sort of got Tyron Wishart, who can play hooker, but he's a utility, more of a half. Bronson Garlick, who's sort of making that transition into a back rower. Jaden Nikorima. If they lose him, oh God, they're in strife.
Yeah,
it's funny. Sorry, just going back one sec. It's funny you bring this up because I saw this on Twitter this morning. Shout out to Andrew Ferguson, Rugby League Project on Twitter. They did a ladder for the teams in their last 250 games, including finals, including everything. So just their last 250 games. They did a table. The Storm are well ahead. They've won 176 games of their last 250. So to say the last 10 years, they've conceded 14 points a game, every game for the last 10 years, and put on 24.7 points.
Who was second?
Roosters, with 160 games.
Far out, the Storm. Wow, that's so incredible, so impressive. What an organisation. Look, I think they'll dig themselves out of this. I think once you get your Harry Grant, your Munster, your Hughes back, do I think that they're going to be a powerhouse like we've seen in previous years? Probably not this year. I think I'm confident enough to say, well, not confident enough, it's in my opinion that I don't believe that they've got a roster at the moment to finish top 4. And I already had predicted them outside my 4, but what I'm saying is seeing the way they've played in that compared to the ceiling of like the Roosters, the Rabbitohs, the Penrith Panthers, the Cowboys if they bounce back, the Sharks if they bounce back, the Broncos have gone to a whole new level. I think that they'll probably, at the moment, roster-wise, they'll probably land around maybe even 6th or 7th.
Yeah, it could be a low point for the franchise and finish 7th.
I know, it's incredible. Anything else with the Storm? I mean, the good thing was Pezzett got his first start at 7, had a try assist, which was good. 9 tackles, only 2 misses, which is,
He was really good.
He was good for his first day. It's just the completion rate that killed them. Like, it absolutely killed them because they didn't even. I'm trying to look at like whether they missed that many tackles. I don't think they did. Actually, my bad. They're currently leading the comp. Oh, just wait. Where's the missed tackles? No, so this game, they didn't miss heaps. They didn't miss any tackles. But going into this game, they missed the most tackles of any team in the competition. Melbourne Storm leading in missed tackles. That is unheard of. Unheard of. So this game, they only missed 18 tackles. So it's just like...
And you have a look from the weekend, there was only 3 players that started that didn't have an error.
Mate, it just killed them. It killed them. So all of their backs, I speak about it all the time on the podcast. If you're a back, you can't let your forwards down like that. You've got 2 errors from the winger, an error from the centre, 2 errors from the other centre, 2 errors from another winger. Xavier Coates is a really interesting situation for me. Hasn't he just been a bit... He hasn't taken the step we thought he was going to take at the Storm. And what's ironic is that all the Broncos outside backs are going to a whole new level. And he left the Broncos during our toughest time, rightly so. And the reason was, I want to go to a good club and good opportunity to become the best player I can be. And I'm not saying the Broncos are better than the Storm or anything like that. But right now, when you talk to like setting the world alight and on fire, the Broncos outside backs are killing it.
Yeah, I think he's Xavier Coates, and I'm a fan of him, but I think Remus Smith has been similar too. Like, I sort of expected him to have a huge uptick when he first arrived there. He had a good season, but since then he's really mellowed out as well.
Because he had the injury.
At the
end of last year.
Yeah, but even like the lead up to that, I think he played 12 games. I think he might have scored 1 try or something. Like, he wasn't coming up with...
So it was the year before that he played really well?
The year before he played really well, scored a few tries, came up with a few attacking stats and whatnot. But yeah, I thought that, Melbourne being Melbourne, as we know them over the last 15, 20 years, that Remus Smith, Coates would have turned into absolute superstars. I thought that Warbrick, with his natural raw ability, he would have been a little bit better than what we've seen so far as well.
What's the Will Warbrick one's really interesting because the preseason games, he looked like a monster.
Killed it in Cup last year too. Killed it.
And so, like, is it confidence, do you think? I mean, the try that Pereira scored, it's a cardinal sin. He absolutely should have made that. I mean, it was decent footwork for a winger. And I'm not taking anything away from Pereira. He's a small, flashy, fast winger and great finish by him. But at the same time, like, you got to make that tackle if you're a winger. You always if you give him the outside, you've got to make the outside. And if you get stepped back on the inside and your cover defence doesn't cover it, that's on them. Like, you've got to commit to the outside if you give him the outside kind of thing. What do you reckon's going on there? Because he has so much potential. He's so big and strong.
Well, I personally felt that in the first 2 games, he hasn't been getting many opportunities in the red zone. He hasn't been getting all that much good ball in the first 2 weeks. But now you're starting to see the errors creep in, the defensive mistakes. I was sort of ready to give him a pass for the first week or so, but the weekend really worried me. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the side next week.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you pick him next week?
I don't think he will, but I reckon him and Trent Leroux could be in trouble.
I believe Jennings is due back from illness. I haven't seen a lot of word around it, but Jennings due back, so he could come and slot back in that side. I had Xavier Coates noted down as well. Kempy just sort of, he hasn't come on like we thought. He had 9 runs for 53 metres. In the back 5, Olam was the only one to run for over 100 metres, and that was 102. So the fullback and the 2 wingers didn't run for over 100 metres. Very concerning. And Warbrick, as Guru said, I think he certainly had limited opportunity in the opposition red zone, the 20 metres there. He's outside Hughes and Eli Katoa, and Katoa and Hughes have got this such good combination coming along. He plays short to him a lot, and the ball movement out the back to the right just isn't quite there. So he hasn't had a lot of finishing opportunity, but at the same time, he hasn't looked terrific.
Well, look, if he was a small winger, I'd be able to go, you know what? Like, that's what he's there for, to finish. Yeah. He's a big boy. Get in there and fucking have some runs. Because Because, like, you look at Coates and Warbrick, that should be arguably the most damaging wing combination in the comp when it comes to coming out of our own end. Like, the only one that I can think rivals it in regards to size is the Roosters. Because you've got Taylor May, well, he's injured. Taylor May's injured, isn't he?
Yep, he's out for the year.
Panthers.
Yep.
So you've got To'o and who's the other winger? Taruva. So they're not massive. They're good. They're incredible ball carriers. They're probably the best in the comp. But outside of that, like, what other club has massive wingers the way...
The Bronx when Oates was fit. But
yeah, Bronx when Oates
was
fit.
is gone. Cobbo's there.
Yep. Well, but look what they were doing. Look what Oates and Selwyn was doing in regards to coming out of their own end. Like, that's what they should be replicating.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you the one that I always really like, and he played for Melbourne, I think, last week. He's more of a centre than a winger, but I'd be happy to put him out there. Young Tonamapao. I reckon he always does a job for them.
I know. I think last week he just had a few brain explosions.
Okay.
He had a stinker last week. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like Young T
I like
as
him
well,
too.
but
I
last
like him
week
too.
he had a stinker and copped it for it.
Went back to reserve grade this week, scored 2 tries, played pretty well. So he's one that I'd be considering. You got the young fullback there too, Failogo. Do you consider maybe giving him?
The problem is I was going to talk about some positives for Storm fans. Like, Meany's been pretty good.
Yep.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I guess the only problem is like, you know, he's good, but is he game breaker like Pappy good? So it feels really unfair to say because Meany's been probably their best player. He's at least been in their top tier players. Harry Grant's been their best player this year. He's been in their top tier of players this year, you know, and he deserves the raps for that. 2 tries on the weekend. But I just wonder, like, is it worth going, you know what, like, let's get the young fella in there and give him a crack. Put Meany on a wing. We know Meany's I think Meany's a really good winger.
Maybe.
Like, put him on a wing, give the young fella a crack, see how you go. Because, like, at the moment, you know, Warbrick doesn't probably look ready for first grade, defensively at least. So maybe you put Meany there. You know you're going to get a good defensive winger. You put the young fella at the back, and then, yeah, you just go for it. Because, like, think about the explosiveness he's going to add through the middle. And that's the one thing that Harry Grant, he's doing his best, like putting his heart and soul into every game. But he needs a fullback with him constantly. And at the moment, Meany's there, you know, sometimes, but he's nowhere near as lightning first 10 metres as, you know, say Fa'alongo, I think it is Fa'alongo. So, I don't know. Do you do that and try and replicate Pappy a bit?
Do you have much to lose?
Not really.
I'd be all for it. I'm pretty sure he is in the top 30.
Is he?
I'm pretty sure he is, yeah. He's training with them quite a bit. He's always down there.
Well, he's been there in the top squad for 2 years, I think.
Okay.
Another positive, Katoa. He's going really well.
Good.
Going really well. So that's at least we're getting that. Jerome Hughes.
Sorry, I don't think he's top 30. He's in the development list according to NRL.com.
Can you Google? I'm pretty sure he signed a top 30 deal. I remember when we did reactions to his highlights. Anyway.
That was my vibe too. I thought he was.
I thought he got upgraded. And he signed a deal in 2021, I think.
Talk about Eli Katoa. Kempy, he ran for 163 metres.
Yep.
The Storm conceded 38 points. He had 36 tackles without a miss.
No, he was great. He's incredible. And so the thing is, we're still seeing those shining lights of the Storm system push through. You know, maybe they're not, 100% hit rate that they were 5 years ago, but they didn't really recruit like they have recruited now. So at least we're seeing Katoa take advantage of that system. And he's only getting started. Like, imagine 10 games in, building that combination with Hughes.
Yeah, it says on the Storm website he's full-time. It's just on the NRL website he's in the development part. So I'm not sure. So you're probably
with the
right.
NRL, they literally, like, I'm looking here, Elise Katoa's photo's not in the picture. And then there's a bunch of other ones that I looked at where they, like Jackson Paulo, he's not in the picture yet for the Roosters.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
they
because
boycotted.
they boycotted the
Yeah,
photos and that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But surely just get the photos off the club. Clubs does them.
Yeah, you think there'd be a way around it?
There'd be a way
surely.
around it.
It's called Photoshop.
Do like a really shitty Photoshop. It'd be funny. I reckon that'd be hilarious. So look, if there's any club that can turn around to Storm, but there's no getting around it, disappointing.
Yep.
There's no getting around it, and you can try and sit here and go, they're missing Munster, they're missing Nas, rah. It's similar to the Knights situation. I know the Knights are a different club, so you cut them more slack, but you still got to go out and compete and complete the sets. Storm are different though. I'm not saying that Storm and Knights are different. Storm we hold them to a high standard.
And they're missing players, but last week they also brought back Olam, Cam Kamitha, Tarek Sims for his club debut, scored a good try. So there are a lot of names that come back into that side for the weekend.
Yeah. So let's hope they bounce back. I think with Munster back, look, I really do think that it's underappreciated. Ever since they lost Pappenhausen, they haven't been the same. They just haven't. Because they started the year last year, incredible. Pappenhausen gets injured. The last 10 games, can you check what it was? It was like 3 wins from 10 games or something like that. Or 3 wins from 7. And so basically since that point, they're like, so what are they, 1 from 3 this year? Could you go back and look at their wins from that period where they went on the run? They might be like 4 wins from 10 games.
Yeah, and on top of that, whilst Matty's looking for it, like they've moved Cam, like they had Meaney there, then they went, this isn't working, this doesn't solve our problems, we need to move Munster there. They kept it just shows how important Pappy is.
Yeah. And he doesn't get, because he's post Billy Slater, he doesn't get the weight of like the big 3. But in this generation, he is the big 3 for the Storm. He want to Clive Churchill, like they want to comp with him at the back there. What do you got there, Matty?
Yeah, so he got injured against the Raiders. So since then they've gone loss, and then they win. Then they went on a 4-game winning streak. Win. But then they went loss, and then win. So you're right. They've won 5 from their last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
So they're at about a 45% win ratio. Wow. That's crazy. 5 from 11 since.
It's actually worse than that. It's Pappy got injured, but they lost the last 2 games before that as well. So they went 4 losses, 4 wins, 3 losses, win, loss.
So it's actually like 6 wins from
1, 2, 3,
13.
5, 6, 7.
Which is crazy for a guy who hasn't played 71st grade games yet. How important he is.
It's 5 from 14.
5 from 14. Wow. And when you look at that, you go, maybe they won't make the 8. Now I still think they'll turn it around, but 5 from, holy, I didn't think it was that bad. Jesus. So hopefully they can bounce back. I do think Munster, there was a period there when they were doing all the re-signing and people looked at their percentage win without Munster and it was actually quite strong. I think that's completely changed. I think that Munster is so vital to that side now. They no longer have the systems around him to get wins.
Yep.
He has to be in the side. Like, they don't win if he's not playing against the Parramatta Eels. He came on with that busted finger and fucking killed it. Anyway, so hopefully they can bounce back. If any club can, it's the Storm. We've spoken a bit about the Titans already, but AJ Brimson, seriously, like he's in this interesting spot because he can stay at the Titans, get offered mad coin, be a big fish in a little pond, or he can take unders and become probably a superstar, but become a little fish in a big pond. What would you do with your AJ Brimson?
Just on AJ Brimson, at the live show the night, we were talking about, Queensland's next fullback. We completely forgot about him.
I know, just fucking... Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, when the first person came and said it to me, I went, oh, fair shout. When the 15th person came and said it to me, I was like, can you leave me the fuck alone? I get it. I don't know how we slept on him, though.
Yeah, it's a fucking good... He killed it when he played Origin. Yeah. That's a miss by us. Apologies, Rocky fans. Because people who are listening, they're like, if KP isn't sweet, who replaces him? And we were talking Reece Walsh Hammer. You have to say Brimo, for sure.
Yeah, I completely blanked on him.
Same. Oh, my bad. Our bad. But yeah, AJ Brimson, like, in a team that struggles so much, he always plays good. Like, when does he not play good? When does he not have a line break? Does he not have a try assist? It's incredible.
Sorry, just for clarification, I just tweeted the Storm and they've confirmed that Farlogo is a development player.
He's not available.
He's a development player, yeah. So
you tweeted them?
Yeah, I just asked him.
Oh, wow.
Matty.
Wow. And okay.
Pulling out the big straps.
So he's not in the top squad?
Nah.
What?
He trains full time, but he's not in. He's one of their development players.
So they went into the year with only Meaney as a backup fullback in their top squad. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well that makes sense.
I love that Matty's got a direct line there.
Yeah. And they responded that quick.
They were quick, yeah. Good on him. Good on him, Melbourne.
Bloody hell, that's good. Hey, media team at the Storm. They're still keeping the standards. Yeah. They're still one of the best. Yeah, thanks, Storm. I know it's a small thing, but what a great club.
100%.
That you can just tweet them and they'll give the fans an insight quickly. That's actually really
Their
fucking
injury reports too have been immense this year. Like they're given week by week, basically blow by blow descriptions of where players are at, when they're due back, how they're tracking. It's unreal information for footy fans.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is actually really good. Like, it shows you how much they care about their... Because, like, a lot of clubs, when they get injuries, it's just like, do your best to fans.
Mate,
And fans like...
some clubs, when there's injuries, you see it and you go, I'm never going to know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
You know straight away. Yeah.
Whereas, like, as fans, we want to know because we care. We care about, like, what's going on or whether it's the top squad or whatever. That's really impressive by the Storm. Well done. Well done. To the Titans. Yeah, AJ Brimson, what would you do if you're Brimo? Let's say he could go to top 4 side. Let's say Broncos wanted him. And let's say Broncos were going to be a top 5 side. They got that. We're going to offer him, 400, a lot of caveats there. 400K.
I think you had to, though.
Yeah. 400K.
Yeah.
Or he could stay for 800K at the Titans. What are you doing?
If I was AJ, I think I would go.
What would you do?
You would take 400K less to go play for the Broncos.
Don't you want to be successful?
$400,000.
Yeah, but over a whole career, like he's going to play Origin, he's going to do all these things. Like, I don't reckon he'll stay. If Sweetie signs with the Broncos 400K, what's he going to be worth after 2 years at the Broncos?
And also,
he's playing top 8 footy and final 4 footy.
And post-career, he's going to get way more gigs as a Broncos fullback than a Titans.
So yeah, Kempy, you're asking the wrong bloke about $1, let me tell you.
Oh, is he tight as anything?
It wasn't $1, it was 400,000.
Fucking hell, why do you care about money so much, bro? There's more to life than money, bro.
Oh.
Who would have thought Timmy's tighter than a set coat of paint? Jesus.
I'm taking my 400K extra.
So your advice, like, let's say you're giving him advice, you would say stay at the Titans and be a big fish in a little pond.
Yeah, and I get the argument to leave. I mean, if we're talking different figures than that, I see the incentive to leave and go to a stronger club and, put yourself more in contention for rep honours. But he's killing it at the Titans. I feel like he's been a big part of that club for a long time now. So I can see why you'd leave, but in terms of being a key figure at that club on big money, I can see why he'd stay.
Because, like, if I'm him, well, not if I'm him, but the question has to be asked eventually to Brimo is like, do you want success in first grade? Because at the moment, they've made finals once. And he's such a good player. It's like Tino as well. We spoke about this with Tino. Now, I know Tino just re-signed, but the next contract that's up, if they don't improve, Tino's going to have to ask himself, do I win more comps or do I want to battle here and try and build something?
And at least Tino's got a premiership in the back pocket.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I look at the Reece Walsh example. Like, I think he would have been crazy not to go to a team like Brisbane.
Yeah.
Like,
and he took unders. Oh, I mean, it was because he wanted to be with his daughter.
But he still,
He still took unders, which is what a get by the Broncos. They got Reece Walsh on like 400 grand. Unbelievable. Far out. Anyway, in saying all that, Titans fans, don't worry. I've actually spoken to Brimo about this. And yeah, he loves the Titans, so don't worry, Titans
Seems
fans.
very loyal.
He loves the Titans, so don't stress out. I've spoken to him in depth about it, and not in a disrespectful way, like just saying, like, you are such a fucking gun. You could probably get. Anyway, he was outstanding. 2 try assists. Some defence from Aaron Schott was outstanding. Another guy we didn't even mention, but he scored 2 tries, 136 metres. I love his aggressive defence, but. We've got Cam Pereira, who scored 2 tries, little in and away on the Wilbrook or whatever. Warbrick, sorry. But outside of that, like, it's a gutsy win and good on them. It's just that points leakage that's tough. Also, what do you guys think about Foran being taken from the field and then put back on? And the discussion was essentially it was a hot day and they wanted to rest him to a degree and keep Campbell on because Campbell's so electric around the middle, big tired forwards, he would hopefully,
I don't know. I know they won the game and everything, but it seemed to me a little bit of an outthink of the room. I get it's hot, but that's footy at this time of the year. I also will say this. I think it's outrageous that the NRL puts a game on the Gold Coast at 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon in March. It happens every year.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't up there to make a proper read on it, but I thought it was a bit over the top taking Foz off. I wouldn't have done it personally.
I was shocked. Like, I understand, Campbell Graham's a gun, but Foran, wouldn't you take Tanner? Well, I mean, if Tanner did he got a head knock or something? Anyway, whatever it was, Foran's like, wouldn't Foran nearly be literally the last person you take off?
Would be for me. Yep.
And I know he made a few errors, but like, I don't know.
You brought him there for a reason, to win your games of football. This game was on the line the entire time.
Yeah, and like, if there's one guy that can start a game poorly then turn it around, it's Foz. Very surprising. And Foz was filthy. Isn't it funny the different ways we react to things? So apparently Foz sprayed the trainer and, was filthy, get taken off. And like, we haven't heard a peep about it in the media. Whereas like Clemmer, and he's fucking worst bloke in the world. It's just different how different things get put.
Different guys are going to get different headlines.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
rugby league.
What do you guys think of the Titans?
Yeah.
I like Fafita. I think Fafita's been good this year. I really do.
He's rolling up the sleeves.
Yep.
And I think there's no coincidence that it's because of the man inside of him. We just spoke about. That's Kieran Foran, who's getting better use out of him. But we're seeing Fafita take those tough carries. He didn't offload again this week, which I'm like, sweet. He's not trying to pull a miracle play out of his ass every time he runs the ball. He had 14 runs, but just all those things we questioned the last season, Kempy, about him having a crack, doing the tough stuff. I think he's starting to do it, and Foz is getting the best out of him.
26 tackles, no misses as well.
Great, exactly what we wanted to see. And the other one that I watched Tanner Boyd very closely on the weekend, and going okay, getting them around the park solid. And one thing I've seen in young halves over the years is that when their job's under pressure and they know they could be in and out on any given week, they fall back into this rhythm of, all right, I just need to kick well and get the team around the park, and that's fine. I think it's a good attitude to have. But they can forget that they're allowed to run the ball.
Yeah.
And I think Tanner Boyd's got a good running game, and every time he had the ball on the weekend, it was just catch pass really early, not going into the line. And I'd just like to see him going, no, like, sure, I need to do those basics as a halfback right first, but don't be afraid to take on the line, because when you're defending that, it becomes very easy. You know he's not going to run, and you just slide off, and it becomes very easy to defend. So I'd like to see Tanner take on the line a little bit more as a ball runner.
He's not a small body. He's quite nuggety, quite strong.
He's strong.
He was playing hooker for a good while there.
I will say, though, defensively, like missing 7 tackles, he's got to sort that out.
On Fafita, just mentioned him. Starting to do more of the tough stuff. Origin this year? What do you reckon?
Ooh, that's a tough
It's early
one.
days.
Yeah,
It's a stacked pack, but
Off the bench, probably. I think you find a spot for him.
you would find a spot for him?
Yeah, I think so.
Without putting the whole team down, but
Oh, man, it's a tough. You got, Lindsay Collins, Tino, Paddy Carrigan. Then you've got Papali'i to come back for the Raiders.
who would you pick right now, Nanai or Fafita?
Form-wise,
Well, who would you pick?
as in purely on form, or we are adding in history?
Who would you pick? However you would do. I mean, form-wise, you take Fafita, but obviously he did the job last year, so who would you be leaning towards?
Well, it would be purely form because we're only 3 games in. I'd be going for Fafita.
Fafita.
Because, Nanai's ran for, 100 metres in 3 games or something
3
like
games, 100 metres, yeah.
that. I'd be going for Fafita right now. But Queensland have a knack of getting a player that's playing poorly at club, bringing him in Origin and fucking killing it.
Yep.
But I love what Fafita's been doing. Minimal errors, getting through the tough stuff. And also people might go, oh, well, it's contract year. He's already re-signed his contract.
Yep.
So he's still doing the hard stuff. And, maybe it was a case of needing an experienced half inside him to just go, mate, I need you here, here, and here. And here's the ball. Because, he's no longer doing, well, he does it every now and then, but he's not doing the one off the ruck, run sideways and bump 6 tackles anymore. He's getting good, hard lines, and that's what you want to see. He's still so young, man. What is he, 22, 23? He's so young.
Wow.
Feels like he's been around forever. Mo Fotuaika was a bit better. How old is he? Just turned 23. Holy shit. That's crazy. Crazy. Anyway, what else stood out for you boys?
I think you just mentioned Mo Fotuaika. Slowly getting back to where he should be.
Yep. Maybe it's because he's starting now again instead of coming off the bench, maybe?
Yeah. There was no other huge standouts for me, mate. I thought Brian Kelly in his first game back. Jeez, he's got some talent, Brian Kelly.
When he was playing for Manly, he was electric.
Yeah.
Electric in the centres. So hopefully he can find that form again. All right, that's us done with Titans Storm. Now on to Cowboys Warriors. As I said earlier in the show, we're at the live show on the weekend, on Friday, and I said, what I'm not understanding is this narrative that seems to be forming that the Cowboys have started the year poorly. I felt that although they just squeaked out a win against the Raiders, I thought their first half was incredible. I thought against the Broncos, Scott Drinkwater goes off. The Broncos are showing that they're one of the top tier sides right now, form-wise. It could change, obviously. But after watching this game, I go, oh, shit. Now, I will say, God, they miss Scott Drinkwater. Oh, my God. They are truly a different side. They are night and day. It's two different sides without Drinkwater. He is so crucial to their ability to play well. And then you go back and you go, okay, when Hamiso started fullback as Drinkwater, so it was Dearden, Townsend, and Hamiso started.
Started last year.
And then you go back to the start of their season, you go, oh, they had that game against the Dogs where they lost 6-4 or something.
Yep.
And it all starts to add up, and you go, Scotty Drinkwater is fast becoming like not only a marquee player, but as important to a side as any player in the comp. They look different, a completely different side with that.
Completely different side. And that's where, you now sort of look back to what we all sort of said at the start of last season, Dearden and Chatter, they too much of a similar footballer. And I think that when you've got a guy like Drinky out the back, that's okay. But when they didn't have that little X factor, that little spark, it does look very vanilla all of a sudden, doesn't it?
Yeah, he does. He almost plays like a second six.
Yeah.
To a degree. Yeah. And Dearden, I personally think Dearden's a 7, like as in long term. Right now he's a good 6. But you're right, like Dearden and Townsend, they probably don't have enough flair in attack. And he picks up a lot of that slack. And look, Tom Chester didn't play poorly.
Yeah.
Like I thought he did a job. But yeah, they just looks nowhere near there.
That's what I think, Kempy, with Drinky out and the importance of him as a ball player out the back there. And you're right, Tommy Chester had quite a good debut despite the result. I think they need to try and integrate Val into the back line a little bit more as a sweeper, as a second fullback, that style, which we've seen him do time and time again, even with Scotty Drinkwater in the side. And he got plenty of ball. He had 17 runs, but it was running those hard centres lines, which was great to see. So it wasn't like they weren't trying to use him. I just think with Scotty out for another couple of weeks, I think they can... His ball playing is so good, Val. It came on so quickly when he did move that mate to fullback for a few years. I think they'd use him a little bit better whilst Drinky's out.
It's interesting that they've been really, and maybe it's because they lost Hiku, but they've been quite reticent to put Holmes back there.
Yeah, really.
Maybe he's so important at centre that they just don't want to change it because he's been so good. But
he signed as a fullback on $1 million or something.
Yep. Just under.
Then, Drinky sort of plays his way into that position and gets suspended. He still can't go back there.
Yeah, like it's interesting in regards to the home situation. Do they go Chester again next week? Again, I thought Chester was solid. Going to take time to build into his role. Another situation that's unfolding for the Cowboys is Nanai. I don't know. I think he signed and we were away or something happened. I don't know. I don't think we got a chance to speak about it properly when he re-signed. But the one concern we had, maybe we did speak about it. I don't know, boys. Did we? On the potty?
I remember speaking, but I'm not sure if it was on the potty.
Yeah, we definitely spoke about it though. Yeah. Well, anyway, when we spoke about it, whether it was on the potty or off the potty, we said the only concern we have with this long-term contract with a guy like Nanai is he can have up and down in form. And when you sign someone on a long-term big deal, you can't afford for them to be quite up and down form-wise. And he's really opened this year up, quite inconsistent.
And it's, it's really fixable stuff. It's just taking more hit-ups. He just looks like he's not involved to me at the moment. And I said it last week, I stand by it. If I'm, your James Tarmos, these sort of guys, I'm saying to him, you're a Kangaroos back rower now.
Yeah.
We need more from you.
He doubled his runs this week.
I know, and I'm still not impressed.
I'm kidding, from 3 to 6.
And he had 3 of them in about a 3-minute period. Yeah. And outside of that, he'd done nothing. And that's what shits me, mate, is that he goes in the Origin arena,
kills
and
it.
He's this hit-up machine, this offloading machine, tough as nails, absolutely bullies our pack. Goes on a Kangaroos tour. Normally you see guys come back from Kangaroo tours and they've grown an extra leg. It's like he's lost one over there.
Bloody lost a leg, the poor bloke. No wonder he can't take a hit up.
That's the problem.
Still playing in the NRL.
So I'm just trying to, all runs, 4, he had 6 this week, 4 last week, and then, sorry guys, You
It was
talked
like
to
3
me.
the week
Yeah, it
before.
was 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think it might have been 3 in round 1. So and that is just effort. Like, there's no other way to put it. A bloke
4.
who's such a striker.
So 4, 4, and 6.
4,
So
4, 6.
he's had 10. He's had 16 runs the whole season.
Yeah. You can't put that down to anything else other than effort.
Like, look, I'd understand if there's a couple of games where you're not getting the ball and, you know, you're on edge running forward, so you're trying to keep your width. I get all that. And Fafita struggled with it a little bit, but even Fafita would minimum 10 runs a game. Like, even when he was at, you know, under the pump pressure-wise, everyone's saying he's not worth $1 million, he would still have at least 10 runs a game.
Yeah, even like the 10, you're going as a star back rower playing 80 minutes.
It's not enough.
That's still not enough.
Yeah.
He's not even getting halfway there most weeks.
Yeah, so he's had 16 runs the whole season. I mean, that's what he should have in one game.
Yeah.
Well, you look on the other side of the park at, you know, the Warriors rep back row, Tohu Harris. He had 15 runs. I'm almost willing to say that was unders for him, usually.
Yeah.
And, like, I wonder if he's got some stuff going off the field, maybe.
Quite possibly.
He might have some personal stuff because, like, it's very easy to forget, like, these are human beings, you know, that go through all the same things that we go through. You know, we might have a few down weeks at work or whatever. And I don't know, it just seems so... I feel like he had this at the start of his career where he would have games, he'd miss 10 tackles and then he would bounce back. I feel like last year I felt he sorted all that out. Like, I felt like he'd pushed past that.
But he was still, even last year when he was killing it, like, he was never a guy that was taking a stack of hit-ups. Like, it might not have been this bad, but he was. I don't, and, you know, obviously we're probably talking more from a...
What's his average meters last year, please, Matty?
Like, from talking more from a Supercoach perspective, like, our thing the entire season was he's going to have to score tries to get points because he's not going to take hit-ups. He's not going to make a stack of tackles. You're going to need these huge upside things for him to be relevant. So him not taking a heap of hit-ups, it hasn't shocked me.
99 last year, and he's averaging 39 this year.
Yeah, see, that, like, 99's decent for a back rower. Like, that's probably where you want to be at. I thought he kind of sorted it out last year, whereas... You know, I wonder whether there's something going on off the field. Maybe he's injured and he's struggling to play. But similar in the mould of Fafita, as an Australian back rower now, you just go in and demand it.
Dylan Walker had 20 runs off the bench in 56 minutes.
Fuck. So hopefully they can sort that out.
Just have a look at his last 2 games last year in the finals. He had 15 hit-ups in each of them.
Wow. So he can do it.
there.
Yeah. Oh, we all know. Yeah, I mean, we all know it's there. We're massive fans of Nanai. It's just, I thought he was past this, so I don't know. I have a feeling that maybe something's not right because it seems so low for a guy as good as him. One of the best back rowers in the competition, kills it in Origin, plays well over in Australia when he got his chance. So,
and it's where, unfortunately, if it keeps going this way, people will start to talk, and eventually people will say, "Oh, he signed his contract."
Yeah, doesn't care.
That's where it will end up.
Well, begin to get the same pressure as Fafita got.
Yeah.
You're on
Very
a massive
much so.
coin.
Yeah.
You should be doing this. You should be doing that. So hopefully the big fella can bounce back. Maybe he's injured and he's just trying to get through the injury. Outside of that, I mean, Ruben Cotter, 40 tackles at no misses. Jesus. But yeah, they just really lacked an attack. But also having 26 points scored against Shah at home in the heat against the Warriors. Bit concerning for the Cowboys. They're now what, 1 from 3?
Yeah.
It's
And I think you said it the other night. Like, I think there's a fair argument that they might have played the best 20 minutes of football of anyone the entire season.
the first half was at least the first 30, but the first half that was the best
The
half.
Raiders game.
Easy,
Probably
easy,
Raids copped it. It should be 2 and 3.
mate. They were phenomenal in that first half, and then ever since that first half, they've just. I mean, the first half against the Broncos, they were really good too. They went tit for tat against an explosive forward pack, and then they just fell away. So, yeah, I will say, like, there were some people in the community that were like, Cowboys and Sharks, like, they're not going to back up that year. It was a one-off year.
Yeah.
There were people saying that. So it's not even in hindsight. Before the season started, there were a lot of people going, nah, it was a one-off. Now, some people had the Cowboys, some people had the Sharks. But right now, it is looking like maybe it was 1 year. I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying right now it's...
Well, we spoke about in the preseason that usually there's 2 teams that drop out of the top 8. We all looked at the top 8, and like, I remember sitting here going, well, Sharks and the Cowboys came from nowhere. Parramatta's losing a couple of guys. Like, they seem to be the 3 teams at the moment.
And Manly and Broncos seem to be the teams going in.
Yep.
So hopefully they can sort it out. It's the Cowboys. It's not dire straits by any stretch. It's not like, oh my God, panic stations and, pressure on this and pressure on that. But it is quite surprising with how good their roster is now. So Drinky can't come back quick enough. Oh my God, jeez.
And this is where, like, when you get into these, if you want to call it a rut, I guess, a bye when it comes along can be so important to a footy side. I can't wait to see how the Panthers come out of this week post-bye, just a time to regroup and refresh.
Yeah.
Timing of them is going to be super important.
Do you know when Cowboys bye is, please? Be interesting.
Yeah. I don't think it's anytime soon because
Okay.
they've got an unreal run the first 10 weeks. Their first bye's in round 15.
Yeah, 15. Yeah.
Wow.
Also, it's interesting that they've only scored 1 second half try this year. Cowboys.
So their second halves are just...
They're fading hard.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, okay.
Canberra about them.
Waiting for that one.
Now, onto the Warriors. What a great win by the Warriors. Going up to North Queensland in the heat, start of the year. As we said, a revitalised roster, a new coach. The Warriors are now, 2 from 3?
Yeah.
Like, fantastic. I'm telling you right now, if he was in an Australian club, this coach, Webster, he'd be getting so many raps. But because he's over there, out of sight, out of mind, we're talking a rookie coach that's taken the Warriors to a 2 from 3 start.
And they've played in 3 different states, like New Zealand, Queensland, New South Wales.
Who's the game they lost again?
Roosters.
And they could have won it.
Which they lost Jackson Ford in the first minute. They
Yeah.
lost Josh Curran. Got a little bit unlucky in that game.
I think the Warriors, I said at the start of the season when I saw the preseason games, I like what I'm seeing. There's grit. They're not fading out of games. They're not just letting games fly away from them. They're hanging in there. Keeping the Cowboys to 12 points. Yeah, they're missing Drinky, but they're still, 5 minutes away from a grand final last year. Keeping guys like Taumalolo quiet. It's a great effort. I'm really liking what I'm seeing of the Warriors. I really am.
Cowboys scored 2 tries in the first 15 minutes at home, and the Warriors managed to win 13 plus.
And the Knights did it on the round 1-2.
Yep.
Ponga sent over, was it Barnett? No, not Barnett. Anyways, Ponga sent someone over. Fitzgibbon in the first minute or whatever.
They had 11 players run for over 100 metres. 9 of the 11 ran for over 140 metres. They ran for 420 metres more than the Cowboys.
Wow.
Game.
And that's the Cowboys pack we're talking about.
Up there in that heat. That should have been a nightmare for the Warriors, going there in that.
If they get beaten 13 plus, is anyone surprised?
No.
Up the Cowboys?
Mate, all I can think back to is how hot it was in Rockhampton. I can't imagine how hot it would have been up there.
Mate, it would have been... Oh. I remember there was one trial I had when I was at the Broncos, and you could barely breathe. It was so hot. It was oppressive. Oh, man. So these boys, so tough to get through it. In regard, Tohu Harris continues to absolutely kill it. Far out. He's a beast. He does not stop. We've already spoken about Montoya. Tamaito Martin, 2 try assists. You saw you put up a post. How good is it that he wasn't lost to the game? He's spent a year out, 2 years out?
Yeah, was it more? It could have been. It
was
could
at
have
least 2.
pushed 3. Yeah, it was a long time. And you think, before that, we all look back to that 2017 run that the Cowboys had, and everyone talks about Mick Morgan Tamalolo. He was a gun.
Yeah, he was a gun.
They also wouldn't have got there without him. Yes, without Morgan they wouldn't have, but without Martin they definitely wouldn't have got there. So
About 2.5, 3 years.
Far out.
And you remember like we watched him in a trial last year. I think it was when Brisbane played the Queensland Cup side in their first trial. And we just sat here after and went, he's just got something about him.
Yeah.
There's just something about him that not many guys have, and he's got it.
And we're just he's a little bit rusty, but when it clicks,
When it clicks, he'll fly.
And
what a signing.
Oh, great signing. He's been so good for them. So good. And even, his bravery, he's not scared of contact. He's not, flinching into contact or scared to run the ball. It's, pretty incredible, his story. Pretty incredible. Sean Johnson, another good knock by him.
I think he
Adam
actually frees up Sean Johnson a little bit.
I agree. And so Johnson doesn't have to worry about scoring all the points and being the main guy all the time. Solid from the debutant. 8 tackle breaks on debut. Not bad. 140 metres.
He's a good player.
He got Player of the Year in the Q Cup last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I'll get his stats up for the Q Cup. They're unbelievable. What he
And
did
so he was
last
with the
year.
Titans, but they couldn't keep him because they had Jaden Campbell and Brimo. But what an incredible win. I can't express enough how well the Warriors have opened the season. with a new coach and essentially a new roster. What do you think of the Warriors, Timmy?
Just quickly, Guru on Beers and Breakevens during the week dropped his name. It was a masterclass in linguistics. Guru, how do you pronounce his name?
Tane Torpiki.
Yeah, you're a genius, mate.
Thank you, mate. Playing last year, 22 games of Queensland Cup, 22 try assists, 25 line breaks, 14 tries.
Oh, really?
So
Averaging 150 metres.
Wow.
I loved just how good their depth is looking. So Torpiki said 8 tackle breaks. Kempy comes in, slots in there for Chance, who will be back this week. And talking about versatility in forwards earlier on, and Jackson Ford, who was an 80-minute man by the looks of it for the Warriors on the edge there, he goes out. Mitch Barnett, shifts from prop to an edge. Barnett, there was a bit of chat that he might be out longer term. He's been cleared of any serious injury and was hopefully just a stinger, so he's good to go. Tohu, Muradini, Akora can both go between edge and middle easily. Wade Egan went off for 2 HIAs in that game. You've got Jazz Tavanga, who can slot in and be a top quality number 9. So really, the depth looks good.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm trying to think of. So I was watching the documentary all the way with the Penrith Panthers, and Nathan Cleary makes a point to say he doesn't say Serraldo, but he says a lot of the other assistant coaches get a lot of the raps, but people don't realise how important Webster has been to what we've achieved. Like he specifically says, like he doesn't get enough appreciation for what he's done. I think we're seeing it at the Warriors. We're really seeing it.
He's one of those guys too. I have never heard anyone in rugby league say a bad word about him.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When you're in so many systems and bumping around, it can be so easy to make enemies.
Man.
It's easier to make enemies than friends sometimes. But
seriously,
mate, I thought Marcelo Montoya, 25 runs, 246 run meters. We said it the other day that he's got potential to be like a Manu Vatuvei, and a lot of people push back, but it's there. You can see it.
He must be made of something different. He looks, every time in contact, he looks like he hurts people.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it hurts to tackle him. 3 line breaks, the big fella. Jazz Tavanga, what a knock off the bench. He come on rampaging.
He's such a goer, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think he's kind of found his groove. Like you would mix in between 9, they tried him at 13. But I think impact off the bench is probably a good spot for him.
He's not a 9, he's just a tough bastard.
Fucking toughest. Get him on there just to lift the speed of the game and the aggressive nature of the game.
His late ball playing as that 13 was so effective on the weekend.
Oh, massive. Then you got Dylan Walker coming on, having 20 runs.
Yeah.
157 metres.
Adam Pompey was unreal.
Yeah.
The whole team, geez, they were good.
They were so good. I mean, to keep the Cowboys to 12, what a knock. So, really exciting times for the Warriors. Like, I'm loving what I'm seeing.
What do you reckon the coach will do with Jackson Ford? He'll be available this week. He won the spot originally. Do you give him back his jersey or do you keep Barnett there? How do you...
Well, Bunty Afoa, I think he went off with a head knock maybe because he only played 17 minutes.
Okay.
So maybe maybe Barnett goes back in the middle.
Moves back in.
Yeah, and then you put forward on the edge. But in saying that, if Bunty's sweet to go, I think you keep the side that you got and you put Ford on the bench.
Jeez, that's unlucky for Ford.
Yeah, but fuck, it's footy.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, it is unlucky.
He did so well in that first game.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Now, shout out to Victorian Stores. Naughty Norman Mexican Restaurant and Bar in Mornington. Manager Tom is now pouring Bloke Lager on tap and is open till midnight, so get down there and enjoy some pints. Vernon Street or St. Cellars? Vernon Street Cellars in Kingsville South. Owner Ben is stocked up with both Bloke Midi and Lager. Bedella's Liquor Emporium, Croydon. Owner Yong is stocked up with both Bloke, Lager and Midi. Karma Cellars in South Melbourne. Owners James and Archie are stocked up with both Midi and Lager. Celebrations at Rain and Noble Park. Owner David is stocked up with Bloke Lager on a great deal. That's Celebrations at Rain and Noble Park. Now on to Broncos versus Dragons. Incredible win by the club for sure. That last 10 minutes was amazing. Dragons for 70 minutes were really solid. It's a mixed bag for me with the Broncos. I hope they don't look at that score and think that they earned it because they scored it, but that's not what the game was like. There was a period there where they could have lost that game to the Dragons. I think that they need to. The problem with the young side is sometimes they think they can score on every play. Like every time they get up there, let's just score. And they went away from what made them great, which was building pressure. Like there was a few times early on that Reece Walsh, he went for a grubber on the second tackle and he was trying to make all these plays. And it's what I spoke about last week is as long as he reduces his errors, he'll be incredible. But sometimes you've got to realise that you've got Adam Reynolds to take care of all that. Allow him to build the game plan and your moments will come. And they came in the last 10 minutes. When they decided to go, hang on a sec, boys, let's roll our sleeves up, get through our sets, get some repeat sets. All of a sudden we went boom, boom, boom. And so I guess the trap the Broncos can fall into is having too much of a big explosive forward pack. They roll down the field every single set and they go, well, we can score points whenever we want. They need to be patient. And I think in the first half, our patience was non-existent because our forward pack right now, I know it's only 3 rounds, but from the first 3 rounds, no one's touching our forward pack right now. It is outrageous. Payne Haas, Carrigan and Flegler and Jensen are absolutely decimating teams. Payne Haas came on in the last 10 minutes and single-handedly set up 2 tries. Tell me another front rower that could do that.
He's been incredible, hasn't he?
Out.
What an Adonis in that last 10. He's just let's put this to bed. I'm going to take on as the front row and set up a couple of tries.
And good coaching. I know he cops a lot of shit with Kevy Walters, but for Kevy to hold his nerve, when the game's in the balance, most coaches go, fucking get Haas back out there ASAP. He held his nerve all the way to the 10th minute and then, boom, put him on, game put away.
18 runs, 240 metres, but the big one is 104 post-contact.
Wow.
104 post-contact off 18 runs. You'll get some forwards that'll get 100 metres off 18 runs.
Mate, it's insane.
I'd like to know, and if there's any listeners out there who know it, but who has the most post-contact metres in a game ever?
Yeah, ever. Probably Tamalolo.
Yeah.
Tamalolo, for sure. We've never seen anyone like Payne Haas. I challenge anyone to show me a front rower that can do this. Now, there are front rowers with better careers. Your Glenn Lazarus, your Shane Webke, all that kind of stuff. But I challenge anyone to find me a front rower that can do what Payne Haas does week in, week out.
He's a new prototype, 100%.
100%.
Yep.
It's incredible. And also, that's the work stuff. We haven't even, we've mentioned it, we haven't even got into the offloads that led to tries that sealed the game. When was the last time you brought a front rower on to seal a game? You didn't. You haven't. It hasn't happened. That's how good this guy is.
And on top of that, defensively, he made 26 tackles in this game. He missed none. I thought it'd be higher than 26 based on his normal work rate.
Yeah.
He's a freak. He doesn't miss tackles. He's just everything you possibly want. And then you've got those little extra things in his game that we've seen throughout the last few years where, a winger makes a break and he's the one chasing. He's the one that stops them from scoring under the sticks. He's the one that knocks a ball over there. Or he's the one that catches a ball on the full in general play. He's just everywhere. We've never seen a motor like him from a front row forward.
Never.
And I don't think that's hyperbolic in the slightest.
Not a bloke that big.
As can be said, name someone.
Yeah.
If it's not him, who is it? Name someone.
It's incredible.
And there's other guys in this competition that have his, somewhat body shape and skill set, but they can't do it consistently like what he does.
Mm-hmm.
You sort of touched on it, Kempy, but I like that he played 59 minutes. I don't think you need him playing more than that. You show how good an impact he had when he came back on and he had a decent sort of size spell. We've seen, I think, probably Broncos teams and coaches panic in past years thinking, we need him on all the time. Exactly what you said, and we'll play him for 70, if not 80 minutes at times. And you're like, don't kill the poor bugger. You can be more effective with a spell and playing 55 to 60 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was good by Kevy Walters. The game was in the balance. He could have easily stressed out and got him back on there. So the Broncos forward pack, it is seriously humming. At its best, Ricky had another fantastic game. Kurt Catewell looks like he's getting back to his best. Paddy Carrigan, Tommy Flegler, 196 metres, 84 post contact, 16 tackles, only 1 miss in 47 minutes. That's our reserve front rower.
I found it really interesting, really minor tweak, but I just didn't understand why when they started 2 from 2. And then they started Tommy Flegler and put Jensen to the bench. I was like, it doesn't change much. I was very curious as to why. And then maybe they sort of thought, I don't know if he'd played more minutes on the weekend, Flegler, and he's 47, but they wanted to give him more minutes this week or what happened, but just an odd change.
Have a look at this. Our front rowers, post-contact meters, Corey Jensen, 70 post-contact. Paddy Carrigan is a lock, but plays like front row, 64 post-contact. Payne Haas, 104 post contact. Flegler, 84 post contact. Tell me a forward pack that's that explosive right now.
And when you talk about those numbers, you have a look at how many runs that's of. Corey Jensen, 70 post contact off 13 runs. Haas had 104 off 18.
Insane.
It's 5 less runs and he's got 70 post contact. That's incredible. For a guy that I don't reckon most fans are even talking about Corey Jensen.
He could walk down the street, people wouldn't know who he was.
Without a doubt.
And he's been such a good buy for him.
Loved Kempy. We had Jarrell Yee at the show the other night in Rocky. One of the great men.
One of the great men for sure.
Absolute legend. And I asked you boys about it. So he'd obviously spent a decade or so working with the Broncos, and he'd seen all these unbelievable talents come through the grades. And I said, who was the one out of, talking about Reece Walsh and a lot of Aussie schoolboy stars, Tanner Boyd and a bunch of others come through. Who was the most that impressed you? Payne Haas, etc. Dave Fafita. Brendan Piakura was his call. He said coming through the grades, he thought he was unbelievable. Hasn't quite hit his straps, but he wasn't even in your side. Isn't in your 17 at the moment.
Yeah, isn't even in the 17 at the moment. So Reynolds, Ezra in the forward pack, massive rap, like amazing performance. But as backs, you need to support them. Like you need to make sure that you're delivering on your end of the thing. And so Reece Walsh, 3 errors. In the back line, basically 3, 4, 5, 6 errors, 7 errors in the back line. You've got to make sure that we, as backs, and then you go to forwards, only Flegler made 2 errors. Everyone else, so Billy Walters, Haas, Catewell, Ricky, Carrigan, 0 errors. It's amazing performance by our forwards, like seriously incredible. And Corey Jensen, 0 errors, Corey Pake, 0 errors, Keenan, 0 errors, and Marty Tapau, 0 errors. Like what our forward pack did on the weekend was phenomenal. And that's where our backs just need to be super patient. It'll come, and stop just thinking that we need to score every single set. If we build pressure, we will absolutely blow teams off the park, and we saw that in the last 10 minutes. Tony Staggs had easily his best game of the year. How many runs did he have? Oh, surprise, surprise, 14 runs. You know what I mean? Gets involved, 14 runs, kills it. 153 metres, 45 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, a line break, 12 tackles, 2 tries, and a try assist. Like, seriously good stuff. Seriously good stuff from the Broncos. It's just a matter of, like, don't get ahead of yourself and forget the processes that I would have put Tony Staggs in my team of the week, but it was just the fact that Alamotti is such a young player that I, put him in there. But the Broncos just need to always remember what's the process, stick to it. Don't think we're too good to... No team is too good to get away from its processes. And so we just got to focus on that. And
that's what sometimes I think what happened on the weekend can sometimes represent some of the young guys at the Broncos. You don't do all the right stuff throughout the game, and then the back end, all the highlights come, and all the things happen, and it covers up for all the shit that happened throughout the rest of the game. I just hope that the Broncos...
identify it.
And they're grounded enough to go, hey, that was all good and well, but for 60 minutes, we weren't the best team on this field.
Yeah. And to listen to Reno, because I guarantee you Reno isn't trying to score points every set. And so it's really key that they just put their egos aside. You're young, you're hot, you're brash, you are everything. Like, they're superstars at the moment. The Broncos are flying. Everyone loves the Broncos. It's a young team. They're full of characters and they're super explosive. They play exciting footy. Don't get caught up in that, because you have to remember the same people that are calling you superstars today were calling you fucking losers 2 years ago and were spraying you on social media, were treating you like shit. You owe it to each other to stick to your processes and just win footy games, because all that matters is to, like, your bond to each other and your responsibility to each other to win footy matches, because you've got the squad to do it. But yeah, Reece Walsh came alive at the end of the game. His last 10 was crazy. He's just got to reduce those errors. Just try to keep it to at least 1 a game. Jordan Ricky, outstanding. He's super aggressive, getting through his tackles, so good in defence. Some really good ball. Like, it's going to come. It's going to click over. We're going to see that game where he scores 2 tries, runs for 150 metres. He's just got to keep chipping away. You guys got anything else to say about the Bronx?
No, I think that just about covers it. Jeez, they're going to be an exciting team to watch over the next few months. I can't wait to see how it all... Because, as we said, the spine, like Reece Walsh has now played 2 games with the spine. Yeah. There's still so much more improvement there, so much more upside. It's crazy.
Reece Walsh, in his 2 games, has got... I'll just check this real quick. So in his 2 games for the club, and this is a debutant, he's got 3 tries, 3 try assists, 4 line break assists. So just crazy numbers. Crazy numbers.
Jeez, Friday's going to be. Is it Friday that they play the Finns?
Oh,
yeah.
What a cracker. Anything else to say about the Bronx boys?
All good, mate.
All good.
Or I've sat here gushing over them long enough. Dragons. I know it was 40-18 in the end. I didn't think they were that bad. I actually thought for what the squad that they had, they stuck to their game plan for 70 minutes. It just became a bit too much. I wasn't that disappointed. The last 10 minutes, super disappointing for sure. But before that, I thought they did a pretty good job. I really did. Thoughts?
I agree with everything you just said. Imagine if 3 weeks ago we said Dragons lose 40-18 and we go, it's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, I know.
It's crazy. Like, I genuinely thought they were the better team for 60-odd minutes.
Yeah.
And then, the Broncos just show what they can do. I felt really sorry for St. George, to be honest with you. I thought they did so well to hang in that game. They are still missing troops, Jack DeBell and Amon, these sort of guys. But, fuck, I thought they hung in well. And they didn't deserve that. They did not deserve it.
Yeah, they honestly didn't. It was just 10 minutes of absolute magic from a guy like Payne Haas that just changed the whole game on its head. Timmy, what do you reckon about the Dragons?
Yeah, came out firing, mate. Like 3 first-half tries. The whole pre-season, we struggled to say too much positive about them. Got away with a win last week, and they look good. They pretty simplistic brand of football, but it's effective. The Broncos are firing, mate, and they almost beat them. I don't know if I should say almost beat them. Could have beaten them at home.
Yep.
A lot of good signs from them. So, I think Dragons fans would be weirdly happy about it.
Yeah, I know they'll be disappointed because of the score line, but put it this way. If Payne Haas doesn't come back on that field, do you reckon the score's anywhere near that?
It's one of the best 13-plus losses I've seen, I think.
It
honestly,
really
like
is.
as stupid as that sounds.
It sounds bizarre. And this is coming from 3 blokes that weren't giving raps to the Dragons rolling into this. I thought for the game, if you're a coach and you ask your team to follow your game plan, I think they followed what the Dragons were about to a T.
Yep.
Older, experienced heads, completing well, doing all the small things right, and building pressure. And they did that perfectly.
We were on the plane back from Rockhampton to Brisbane, and we were on the same flight as Benny Hunt's parents. So I thought this might be an omen here.
Oh, yeah, actually, it was on the same,
Yeah.
There's an omen from the Broncos side of things.
But you know what? Like, even Ben Hunt, he was good in this game, but I thought there were so many other guys that stood up. Once again, it didn't have to all be Ben Hunt.
Yeah.
And they still competed in this game against a side that could be a top 4 team or can play to a top 4 standard at least. I think there's so much to take out. I thought that try that Bud Sullivan scored, geez, that was a good meaty.
Shows you what all the hype's about.
Yeah.
Like a kid that can come to Suncorp and he's, basically handful of games starting and put that on like that.
And most of the time been wasted away playing hooker.
Yep.
14. Very impressive.
I remember watching, I sort of made note of it after it, but the All-Stars game, and I was super impressed by Josh Kerr in that game.
Yeah,
he was
big boy.
He was unreal and just looked damaging and looked like he could really, not so much turn games, but be such an impact off the bench. He ran for 141 metres in 28 minutes.
Yeah.
I think he's really taken his game to a new level this season. In the early stages that we've seen,
Totally agree. Francis Molo, 176 metres, 84 post contact against that Broncos forward pack.
He's handy.
He's
a good player.
He was with the Broncos when I was there. Young gun coming through. He's actually quite explosive for a big fella in regards to when he hits in tackles.
He played Origin, didn't he? Did he play Origin a year or 2 ago? Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Did he? Oh.
Yeah.
The 20 year, wasn't it?
He held his own.
Jacob Little continues to impact off the bench. He came straight on, boom, impacted the game, was taking darts out of dummy half and making it hard for the Broncos forward pack to keep up. Disappointing end, no denying that. But I think the Dragons, let's say the Broncos are the form team of the comp right now. Let's say they're number 1. Aside from that last 10 minutes, you're taking it to the number 1 side in the comp.
Yep, for sure.
I saw Kempy a really good quote from Tyrell Sloan during the week. So he's 20 years old, and he came out when asked about just having a really disappointing 2022 season. He said, I don't blame anyone but myself. I was probably kicking stones and looking for who to blame instead of looking at myself. It's a very mature thing for a 20-year-old to say who He said could have kicked stones and made excuses. We said, nah, like it's on me to turn that around and not blame anyone. So, yeah, loved it.
And he is slowly showing that this year, you know, the way he's playing. Anything else on the Dragons, boys?
All good.
And just quickly before I move on from the Broncos, Lavishka on Instagram, she sends me she's a Broncos.
She's the best.
Number one fan. Yeah. Sends me everything and doesn't expect anything in return. I don't have to answer, nothing. And I appreciate it. So this shows you how destructive this forward pack is. This whole team is really. So Broncos lead kick return meters. They lead all run meters. They lead tackle breaks. But here's the big one. They lead post-contact meters. They have 2,044 post-contact meters. The closest is the Eels with 1,798.
Holy shit.
So they lead by nearly 400 meters. And the difference between them is like... So the difference between Eels, Sharks, Bulldogs and Dolphins is like, 100 meters or so. The difference between them is like 400 meters. That's how damaging this pack is. They lead player and support. They lead post-contact meters, obviously, with Payne Haas individually. They lead field goals. They're equal. They're essentially the top on nearly all stats. But those post-contact meters, they're just too big and explosive. Like, it's crazy. I'm trying to think of another forward pack with as many young, big, explosive players. It's incredible. I think Flegler's going to be such a big loss. Holy shit, he's going to be a big loss. Anyway, okay, let's get to the next game. Bulldogs defeat Tigers, 26-22. Look, Bulldogs absolutely dominated most of this game. Late push from the Tigers, which is like good on them. Late push. But for most of this game, the Dogs absolutely... Look, it looked like a top 8 side versus a bottom 8 side. That's what I reckon. Matty Burton, in my notes, I was like, as soon as he starts running the ball, he is electric. The game just opens up for him. When he thinks run first before pass, he kills it. Outside of that, I thought Carraz again, seriously becoming one of my favourite players. I've been saying it for ages now. I love Carraz. He is truly someone like, and he's not going to break the bank in regards to re-signing, but he is a clubman. Like, you do whatever you can to have him around for 10 years at the club because he rips and tears every game. This is his stats from the weekend. 25 runs, 283 metres, 78 post-contact, 6 tackle breaks. Like, that is a massive knock.
And being a winger running 283 run meters without a line break, it's just tough meters.
It's tough meters. That's all it is. Literally all it is. The Doggies, I thought, looked absolutely fantastic. Disappointing the last 10 minutes that they allowed the Tigers to get back into it. But for most of the game that I watched anyway, in my opinion, I thought the Dogs looked absolutely fantastic. Matter of fact, they went into the break, I think, 16-8 maybe, or 16-6 or whatever. They should have been up 20-6 because, unfortunately, Max King had one of the great Barry Crocker 10 minutes where he threw the ball towards the ground and then he threw an intercept pass. It's a 12-point turnaround. So they should have been up by more. I thought the Bulldogs were fantastic.
David Clemmer, former Australian front rower, he had the second most post-contact meters in this game with 46, and he had a line break that added to that. And Jacob Kiraz still beat that by 30 or 40 meters. It's
crazy.
Unbelievable what he's doing. And yeah, mate, I think the scoreline really flatters the Tigers. And credit to it for however the hell they managed to do it, getting back into this game. But I thought that if Canterbury just would have put together one set after points in the first half, they would have blown them off the park.
I will say one thing though, Guru, and I'm the same as you boys in that I thought it was the Dogs were clearly the superior side in this game. 2 of the Doggies' tries were off, an intercept try, length of the field, and then another one off just a kick, return, a counter attack where they went the length again. So you take them 2 out, which could easily have happened. 2 tries on the board. I don't think the Tigers were good, don't get me wrong, but
one of the Tigers was an intercept as well.
Yeah.
I just feel like when you saw both teams in good ball, it was evident, as you said, one looked like a top 8, one looked like a bottom 8.
The Tigers' attack was so bad.
Oh, man.
So it was hard to watch, and I think probably didn't help that Adam Dewey, it was 50-50 at best all week to play with that. He had a bruised foot. He just didn't look right in this game.
Then he got moved to fullback, though, towards the end, I think.
Yeah, he went. So they dragged Noffa. I believe they dragged
Staines
Noffa.
went to the wing. But what's crazy is they've just replaced Laurie with Staines. So, like, I understand they dragged Noffa, but, like, if you want Staines to be your long-term fullback, well...
And then as a result of all that, Wakeham came on and I thought had some really nice moments. And Brooksy to that point had a bit of a stinker, and I was sitting there, had in my notes going, I think I need to give him a kick up the arse and drop him and give Wakeham a crack. And then Brooksy went on to have a 15-minute blinder to finish the game. I was like, oh, he's sort of hanging by a thread. But what do you reckon, boys? Do you give Wakeham a crack or?
Fuck.
I was sitting there going, Brooks has to be dropped at the end of this game. Then he played 15 minutes. This was great. And I go, did he just make more problems than give solutions?
Yeah.
You didn't win the game anyway, and now it's harder to drop him from the side. And yes, Wakeham came on and did some really good things, but and I don't hate Wakeham, to be honest. I think whenever he plays for Fiji, he's good, but I think he's shown that consistently you can't rely on him at an NRL level.
But, like, can you rely on Brooks at an NRL level?
I wouldn't. I know someone that would, though, and they wear orange.
I don't know, man. The Tigers, I don't know. Like, why are you moving Staines? Like now, so what, is Dewey fullback now at the club?
No, like Laurie will come back in this week, I believe. He's got a knee injury, so if not this week, next week, but it's weird.
And, like, even giving David Nofaluma the hook, like, why? He's been doing this exact same thing for 10 years there. Him having the occasional poor defensive read, the occasional error. It's not like you woke up, you realised at halftime, you said, oh, fuck, Nofaluma's got some things in his game we need to fix. It's been this guy for 10 years.
Oh, mate, I don't understand anything, seriously. Like, I got no idea. I mean, let's talk about the positives. Tigers fans, it must be tough, but I think there's serious problems at that club. Like, unfortunately, at the end of the day, they aren't. Are they playing better than they were at the start of last year, honestly?
I'm not convinced they are.
Like, that's what's concerning. And, like, the whole argument, you know, by some in the media, not everyone, but some people, like, the players are too soft to get on Madge's tough training schedule and rah-rah, and it was always the players' fault, always the players' fault. This is a new roster. And, like, it's the players' fault in regards to the players take responsibility for the way they play. No denying it. But at what point do you have to go, the problem is clearly, if you've got a whole new roster and they're still playing poorly, something else needs to be fixed. Like, look at the Broncos. They've changed all up above, and all of a sudden you're seeing these results. Like, Timmy, we speak about it every week, but off the field matters. And unfortunately right now, the Tigers, it's just, I don't know what's going on at that club. I got no idea. How they haven't jagged a win, and, you know, after last week's game, the amount of pressure they would have been under to be like, come out and perform well. They lost 2 games at home at Leichhardt. They go against the Dogs, who are also a bottom 8 side currently in regards to compared to last year. I just don't know where they go. I don't know where they go.
Mate, I'm
lost for words.
What do you say? I don't know. I hope I'm not being over the top when I say it, but if I'm Benji Marshall, I don't know if I want to take this on.
Mission.
Yeah, I'm being 100% serious. I don't know if it's worth me to start my coaching career here, because it could be over before it starts.
And, like, do you even want that in your life? Like,
why would you?
Like, seriously, rocking up, stressed out of your mind, under the pump by the media. Like, I think there's better things to do with your life.
And I question.
I'm being serious, bro.
100%.
And it's not to say Benji can't be a good coach at all. I'm just talking about, like, who would want to be head coach? Of an NRL club for one, but then also a club that seems to be struggling.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I hear people say, yeah, but Benji will be able to attract players. That's not the problem. You've attracted you've attracted the best players you've ever attracted in your existence. You haven't solved the problems. Like, the other thing that I'm not sure if it's going to work, and I'm happy to be proven wrong or whatever, but Dewey and John Bateman on that edge, I think they're too polarising with each other.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Dewey's either run or cut out, and John Bateman is either give it to me early or I come under you, and that's it. They are the complete opposite footballers. Personally, when IPAP's back, I'll be playing him on the left edge. I'll be playing Kapoa, who I've been really impressed with, on the right, and put Bateman at 13, I think, because I reckon that Dewey Bateman, that's trouble waiting to happen.
Do we need, I like the IPAP call, do we need a hard line running back rower that can just hold up defenders, where Dewey can just go, gets an ounce of space, show and go, bang, too big, too strong, try. But Bateman couldn't be anything further.
Bateman did it once for him yesterday, and Dewey almost got him killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped the ball. Because it was a late,
He was almost
late
in a
putt.
coffin.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
And then Bateman was like, you know what, fuck this, and did a grubber for himself, kicked it through, and nearly bloody scored himself.
And of course, in unfortunate Tigers fashion, the ball bounced up.
If he has a Raiders jersey on, he scores that try.
Without a doubt.
Seriously, it was the worst bounce in history. Like, you know, for all the, you know, we say we don't understand what's going on at the Tigers, a lot of it is bad luck. Like, it just doesn't seem to be working. Like, there's a lot of people behind the scenes working super hard, but clearly the problem can't be identified. Like, it's not trying to... I think people think when a club is struggling that people aren't working hard. That's not the case. Like, there's plenty of people at Tigers working their asses off to turn this around. But unfortunately, like, it is just not happening, man.
One shining light for them. Put a bit of positivity their way. I thought Brent Naden had some great moments again.
I rate
really
Brent
good in
Naden.
attack.
I say week in, week out.
Yeah.
He is a super talented outside back. Super talented. He just floated around a few different clubs and hadn't really found his spot, but he's been really good this year. And I've always been surprised that one of the top tier clubs hasn't picked him up, because I genuinely believe he could be an elite tier centre.
Yeah, I thought he's been great all season. And without taking anything away from him, I don't know how on earth he got away with that forward pass at the back end.
Didn't he shoulder charge someone at the end as well? Or something?
Yeah. and you could see the frustrations were high for Tigers at the end. You could see Bateman getting frustrated. There was a moment there where Joe O, he got the ball when he wasn't meant to, and he wasn't happy. And it's just, I don't know. And then they go to Melbourne to play Melbourne next week with Munster back, we think. It's tough.
I mean, glass half full. Alex Toll, outstanding knock. Then you've got obviously the Naden, played well. I thought David Clemmer had a red hot crack. Like, you know, a lot of people, I see some comments where like people are like, oh, he only stands up to halfbacks. I'm like, have we been watching the same Clemmer?
God.
He has been ripping and a tearing for 10 years. And unless I'm misremembering a time where he backed down from a forward pack, I can't.
Not at all.
Have you remembered Clemmer ever backing down from anyone?
No.
I remember in Origin him literally saying "fuck you" to Corey Parker's face.
Yeah, go and tell Clem that to his face, like that he backs down from forward packs.
I don't get that. If anything, he's consistently been the one bloke that rips and tears regardless of the fullback he plays. You know, so he's 51 minutes. He ran for 182 metres, 46 post contact, a line break, 25 tackles.
Clemmer hasn't averaged less than 150 metres a game in a year since 2014.
God.
That's insane. And it's like, how's that? That's like the epitome of never backing down to a pack, because you're doing 150 metres. You're doing all the tough carries in the middle. Like, anyway.
He made that line break late in the game, Clemmer. You're like, here we go. On the front foot. Dogs were backpedaling, rattled. Fifth tackle, goes to Brooksy, dummies, goes himself, tackled, changeover. It's like, oh, no.
There was another one where they had all this momentum. And then Brooksy kicked it dead, and you're just like, oh, fuck me. Like, I'd get that if it was a rookie half, but surely, like, Brooksy should be at the point in his career where he's nailing those six agains. Like Reynolds. He should be like Reynolds, just putting them in. Townsend, just putting them in. Boom, every time.
And if I've always been a fan of Brooksy, but if someone's going to nail a kick at the back end, I'm probably going to back Wakeman, because I just think Brooks is a shell of himself now.
We said it last week. I think he needs to go to another club and find himself again. There's a great footy player in there. There
100%.
bloody is, and I don't care what anyone says. And I know he's underperformed at the Tigers. I get all that. There is a great footy player in that bloke. He just needs an opportunity at a club that is going to bring it out of him.
Yeah, and there's no shock that there's a theme to just about everyone here and underperforming.
The only bloke that doesn't is the great Alex Twal, ripping and a tearing. But he gets cursed too. He doesn't score a try. He's at another club. He wouldn't be cursed. He'd be scoring meaties every week. He was outstanding on the weekend. But yeah, I feel like we're going to get to round 10 and we're going to be saying the same thing with the Tigers. I don't know what to say. I don't know where to go from here. Like, even like Api Coruscant has his moments, but he's not playing anywhere near as well as he was playing last year. There's a chance where he doesn't get picked for Origin this year if this continues, unfortunately.
I thought at least this week they went with Api a little bit more.
Oh, for sure.
When he took off, like, there was an improvement.
He's the only point of attack for them, essentially.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, he's still not at the heights that he was.
And I almost, like, I don't want to compliment the Tigers pack for going with their running hooker.
No, it's
why you brought him.
But yeah, so he ran for 125 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 44 tackles, 6 misses. At least he was better this week. Look, to be fair, he has been coming back from injury, so maybe he'll build back into it. But it's just like the hooker is only as good as the people around him. You know, you even look at Harry Grant. He's getting out and he's doing his best at the Storm to try and get people to run on the ball, and they are at times. Appy's in a similar situation. Like, obviously, the Tigers are going worse than the Storm, but he can only do so much before he needs some help around the ruck.
Do they pick Nofaluma this week?
Probably not. If you're getting hooked as a winger, you're not getting picked next week, surely.
Agreed. And they've also got Mamalo's due back, possibly this week. It's this week or next. So there's one ready. This week, yeah, I think wouldn't shock.
Hopefully
Did
they
you ever get the hook? The winger?
No. I was I prided myself on never having like shocking games.
Yeah.
In first grade, like I'd have quiet games, but I wouldn't I wouldn't have Barry Crockers. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm sure there's plenty of fans that thought I did. Now onto the doggies. I mean, we've already kind of spoken about them a little bit, but how good was Alamotti?
Oof.
I mean, he's the slowest centre in the history of the game, but
He was on the treadmill.
Jesus, but like. Just the intercepts that the intercept that he took, and then obviously that line break that he made. So it was one intercept. What was the kick return?
Yeah, it was a crossfield kick. Caught it.
As a teenager, as a centre, also the confidence, like to go, this is landing a little bit far away from Addo-Carr. So many centres would have said, fuck that, that's not my job. My job is to let the winger take it. He had the confidence to go, nah, I'm taking this. Boom, lands. Then he sets up a try. You know, you called it, a year and a half ago, and we saw him in that trial against Newey Knights last year, and we're going, oh, he's a bit green, he's going to need a bit of time, but geez, he's developing into something special.
The play that I loved was the one where, and I think it was the one off the kick where, and we mentioned before, James Tedesco, when he made the tackle on Campbell Graham, he forced Campbell Graham into two minds. He defended that play really well. I thought the Tigers, the play where Alamotti had to go Addo-Carr, Alamotti, Addo-Carr.
Yeah.
I thought they defended that as best as they possibly
and
could.
he still did it.
And it could have been an easy moment for him to panic and kick and do something stupid. He just waited till he was in contact and just backed himself in around the corner. Great to see.
And that's where he might be the slowest centre in the NRL, but he knows it and he acted accordingly. He waited for Fox, looked for him, and then I said, knew his ability. He wasn't going to outrun him at the back end of that. It was like, come and tackle me, you won't. I'll still get the offload away.
Yep.
You'll have to come find me eventually, then I'll make the play. He nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rookie. That's his third game of NRL, and he's got that calmness in open space.
Yeah.
You know, like people will take years to get that kind of calmness.
And you could also tell by the body language of Josh Addo-Carr that he knew he'd make the right play.
Yeah.
Because Fox wasn't panicking to get the ball. He just, I'm here. You make it work. And he nailed it.
Kyle Flanagan, solid again, but I thought Matty Byrne was outstanding. I thought he was absolutely electric.
I had the exact same as you, Kemp. You mentioned at the top of the game. I had it written in my notes. I didn't want to see Birdo fall into that trap of how dominant that left edge can be. We haven't seen it yet, but we know all the hype around it. Just getting into that catch, pass, run, second mentality, and I was a bit concerned. And then he did the big show and go and went through. I was like, oh, we're going to be okay.
Oh, mate, 100%. And when he does put his foot down, he's quick. Oh. He's deceptively quick. He almost, like, he moves in such a casual manner. It surprises you when he does hit the afterburners. I thought he was outstanding, and I think they're starting to find their groove. They're starting to find their balance. Like Reed is starting to find where his balance is as well. You know, Kickout's had some good moments, but my boy Jacob Preston, he's a beast.
Oh, your boy.
He's my boy.
He's going to jump over the table at you in a second.
How many boys you got, mate? Reece Walsh, Jacob Kiraz.
I'm the one that brought him up first, mate. I said that this Jacob Preston's got something about him.
You've got two boys on the same edge at the same team. Save something for the rest of us.
No, don't get upset that I was onto the young fella before you were, all right?
Still probably doesn't follow me on Instagram.
No, all jokes aside, it's a great tip-up because he's fucking fantastic. Like, he is... I think it was like one error that he... Oh, no, it wasn't even an error. He made a break and he passed and Nate and batted it down. Like, he doesn't look like that imposing, but he must be super strong for his size. Yeah. You know?
Oh, would you compare it to... Not saying by any means as good as Cam Murray, but similar to Cam Murray, and he's not a big bloke. He just goes and goes and goes. His tackle efficiency is unreal. He's pretty agile on his feet.
Yeah, it's a good shout. Like he's deceptively strong in contact as well. Like sometimes when he runs a short line, I'm like, oh, he's going to get jammed here. Nah, he handles himself really well. And like it's great for the Bulldogs because now they go from, you know, coming into this year was just like, how do we stop kick out? How do we stop kick out? Now you've got two beasts on an edge going, shit, both edge Burton and Flanagan have beasts that can hit these great lines and break the game open. Averillo, another solid game, got through a bunch of work. I think there's 1 or 2 errors that he made, but I think him and Carraz are kind of building a kind of like a misfits edge. If they don't really suit. They're not the superstars that are coming through that you're talking about all the time.
They feel like, in the most respectful way possible, the overachievers.
Yeah, but they're guns.
Yeah.
They're playing so well together, and they read each other really well, and it's almost like they're both quite humble in the way they play. They play like humble, solid, strong footy. They understand that they may not be, as big as Suoli'i or something like that, or even Alamotti to a degree, but they're going to battle their way through every single game, and I think that could be a good combination that grows quite a lot over the next few games.
Do we want our weekly update on Carl Olawapu? How we went in?
Yeah, how'd he go?
Brought to you by Bloke in a Bar.
Yeah.
1 line break, 2 line break assists, 3 try assists.
Oh.
To be fair, though, you've got to go with the pros and the cons. 12 tackles, 6 missed tackles. So still some work to do there. But you watch the highlights. You can.
So that's another bloke I tipped on everyone too. Fucking hell, I can read him, I can read him early. He's a gun. I said that a year ago, Guru. You didn't want to believe me, mate.
Didn't want to believe you.
Bloody hell. Fuck, that's some fair stats, though. For a rookie.
Kid in his
18.
third game of reserve grade.
They're halves in NRL where they've got 6 missed tackles. So, although obviously you don't want that heading into NRL.
He's also got the winger that was on his edge, this Gerald Skelton that we've spoken about a little bit. He's
Skelton.
put together a nice little season there.
Does Skelton have a brother, like a big forward?
Will. I think they might be cousins.
And he plays Union?
I think they're cousins. I don't think they're
Okay.
brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong though.
But what a win by the Doggies. What are they, 2 from 3 now?
After a train wreck beginning.
Yeah. Oh, looks so bad. And I don't know whether, was that Manly just looked really good? Like, I don't know.
It's the beauty of this comp that it's just so hard to put together.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, Seraldo, massive raps. That's 2 from 3 now. He's and I love the way they're playing. They're so expansive, exciting to watch.
I thought, mate, Reid Marnie's defence. I don't know how many tackles or missed tackles or whatever. There were some shots that he put on.
Oh, line speed. Fucking so good.
And his technique is unbelievable.
So good.
Being critical, he also missed a couple of important ones. I think
Yeah,
it might
he-
have been Charlie
he tries
Staines
too hard
line break.
sometimes.
He had an absolute howl of a read to open that gap up.
Sometimes
whacking,
he's so competitive. He goes too hard sometimes. He actually, I think it was McInnes and at the Eels that they worked on it. Like, I think it was McInnes that pulled him aside. I was like, mate, you don't need to be 4 in off a tap. Like, you can let someone else take that big hit. And so he's just got to find that balance sometimes between overworking himself and just getting the job done. But, mate, love Reid Marnie. Love him. Now on to the next game. Raiders defeat the Sharks in one of the great robberies all time. Raiders defeat the Sharks. What I loved about this for the Raiders is like they've had 2 really gutsy performances and they haven't got the result. And, the theme for this podcast is like, regardless of roster, how gutsy are you? Do you fucking have a red hot crack? And the Raiders, although they've lost their first 2 games, no one can deny that they have had a red hot crack every minute of the game in both games. And they finally, even though they tried everything to lose the game in the last 10 minutes last night, like literally everything, they finally got the reward for just working hard, just working hard for your mate and getting it done. And that's what they did. 24-20 beating the Sharkies. What do you think of this one?
They're just the kings of winning ugly, aren't they?
Yep.
Of course, your red-headed front row crashes over for a double.
Well, best prop in the NRL, Corey Horsburgh.
Like that, let's get into that. So he holds Hunt in, niggles him, holds his arm in. Then, as Hunt's like distangled himself, running away, Corey Horsburgh pushes him in the back so hard he falls over. Then Hunt gets up, open hand slaps him, like barely even touches him, and Hunt gets sent 10 in the bin.
Yeah, grub.
It's one of the. it's honestly, it's one of the greatest shows of pest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He literally got him in a mode where he got sent for 10 and he scored one. Like, it's one of the greatest pest performances I've ever seen. Have you ever seen a pest work as well as that?
And as a bloke who we know, when the emotions stir a little bit, doesn't always handle it the best, Corey, to be dishing out the pestering, it was good to see.
Oh, it's great to see.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, how the fuck is Hunt getting sent for 10 after he was the one that got pushed over onto the ground and barely even touched Corey Horsburgh? What the please tell me how It was all done and dusted. Corey had scored a try. No one was talking about it. There was no fight. The ref pulls the game up after the try and sends him for 10. How does that happen?
Unless they didn't bin Cheekham again. Nice little change up.
Yeah, Cheekham nearly got binned.
Yeah.
Cheekham got a phone call, said, mate, I need you to sit out for 10. But, like, how's that possible? Because the video ref would have told that there was a strike or whatever. So that video ref would have seen Corey Horsburgh push him over onto the ground. But only Hunt gets sent for 10. How is that possible?
You could even see when Corey Horsburgh did an interview with Matt Johns after they asked him about it, and he was like giggling to himself.
Oh, massive
going,
win.
I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, massive
Perfect.
win by Corey Horsburgh.
And of course,
like,
I scored next to him.
Yeah, it was like if you're talking about like the art of niggle and what you want from a guy that's niggling, he absolutely nailed it.
And I think we talked before, they obviously played together a bit at Canberra, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so even better.
So it would have been like mates niggling that.
100%, yeah.
Oh my, come on, Timmy, you're a bit quiet here, mate.
Mate, you can't. No contact at the head. It's a sim bin every day of the week.
I don't even think he hit him. I don't think he landed. He just went like, it was open hand as well from what I saw.
There's enough contact between air and face, and that was
Oh
enough.
my God.
Had to go. Lucky it was only 10.
But like, like I was saying, but like one of those situations, it's like, just let it go, refs.
Yeah, who
what are you
cares?
doing? Like, stop injecting yourself into the game unnecessary. Like, we say it every week. Calls on the fly, I'll cop every day of the week. They happen quickly, mistakes, whatever. Sending a bloke for 10. Like, come on.
I assume Ricky took a big stand on it too, did he?
Yeah, he was blowing up in the press conference going, how could he do a 10 for that? You're kidding. One of the greats, Ricky Stewart. One of the greats. I love it. But outside of that, gutsy win by the Raiders. I will say, last 10 minutes, if I had to be super critical, I think Fogarty, and it's hard for Fogarty because Whiten's the man, but he's got to overcall Whiten and say, Jackie, just chill, brah. I love that you're competitive. I love that you want to win the game all the way to the last minute. And that's what makes Jackie so great. But you just take a back seat, Jackie. Let me take care of this. And Fogarty's old enough to be able to recognise this. He should have got the ball, put on a string, ended the game.
Jack, when we're behind by 6 with 10 minutes to go, that's where you step up and win it for us.
Yep.
When we're up by 6 with 10 to go, that's where I get us home.
100%. And I'm not sure whether Fogarty tried to do that or not, but if I had to be super critical, that's what it would be of like, Fogarty should have just said, Jackie, chill, brah, I got this. Or maybe he did say that. Jackie needs to listen to Fogarty and say, you know what, I want to take a step back. You know the best way that Jackie can help the last 10 minutes when you're up is his defence. Just jam blokes. Just jam blokes in defence and you'll be sweet.
Did you see the play where Canberra had to play the ball about 5 metres out, smack in the middle, and Jack was on the left. Fogarty was on the right, and Jack had Saulo in front of him, and he was trying to tell Saulo to get up and block, and he pushed him, and Saulo just fell over. He just hit the deck, and then Jack sprinted after the ball. He goes, "Sorry, mate, sorry." And Saulo's like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Then he swung to the right and had a line break. Hey, it was off the back
I
of
think
that.
so. Yeah.
Oh my God! When he did that and went the other side again, it was pretty early on from memory. So I was like, "Oh, this looks so good."
But I was thinking back on Friday night, we were talking to some of the blokes, and they go, "Who's the last bloke in the NRL that you'd want to have a stink with?" And I sort of said, "I think it'd be Jack Whiten." I wouldn't, and I'm watching him push over Pasami Saulo at 110 kilos, just trying to get him into position. He's a freak, Jack.
Jackie is a freak. Mate, I love watching him. He typifies what rugby league's about. It doesn't get much better. When he's on the field, it doesn't get much better than Jackie Whiten. Ripping and tearing, getting amongst it. I thought Albert Hopewadi, I thought he was really good.
Timoko, man, he's gone to a new level.
Mate, he is strong as shit. What are they feeding you over New Zealand, bro? Jesus. What do you have? 154 metres, 3 tackle breaks, 22 tackles, 0 misses. 2 line break assists, a line break, 3 offloads.
When he got out of the in goals, that was his biggest play of the day. I thought that was huge. To have the confidence to do that in his second year, and you quite often see guys like him that they go a little bit quieter in their second year, they plateau for a little bit. He looks like he's just got bigger and better.
It's going to be. I feel like he's got a potential to be one of those fan favourite centres because he's so aggressive in contact, and it's just so fun to watch him play footy. I thought Hudson Young was really good too. I thought he had some really good moments. Super aggressive. Had that line break. And also, like, whenever the game's on the line, he always seems to go up another gear. Who else? Tarpiner, outstanding. Starling was great off the bench. Really fucking good off the bench. 2 try assists. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, really, I think you boys touched on it pretty well. Just a really gritty, gutsy win. And look, the Raiders aren't overloaded with firepower in attacking when it comes to points. They've got this big, powerful pack, but I don't think they're going to go out there and win games 13 plus this season. I mean, they haven't for a couple of seasons now, to be fair, but I think they'll grind to a lot of victories. So if they're winning 1-12, I'm happy to see it. And as you said, that they did everything they could to lose at last 10. I don't know. I felt pretty confident all game about this one. I felt comfortable. So, yeah, it was a win to state the obvious, we desperately needed.
Concerned that Danny Levi's out?
Not at all. Just because they reckon broken jaw, the poor bug, and he's been solid enough this season. But it'll be interesting to see which way they go. I dare say Zach Wolf will come in and start for them.
Yep.
I was looking forward this week to seeing Tommy Starling playing that sort of 13 ball playing role that we touched on last week, which that opportunity didn't arise. But Wolf will come in and do a fairly similar job, I think.
Yeah. Going to be Trey Mooney hasn't been used as much as I probably thought he would. Now I always want to ease him in, but I thought he'd have a bit more impact the first 3 games.
They were playing Adam Mariota, who was out this week with injury. He was sort of preferred to him early on.
So he's only got 10 minutes on the weekend.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought Trey would have. I thought this year he'd probably jag that bench spot, but clearly not. But who else? There was someone else that was going skits. It might have been Emre Gula.
Emre was really good.
Just super aggressive.
Yeah.
Becoming very consistent, Emre. Yeah.
I know, because he's got that
12 territories.
He's got 12 territories. He's got that mullet, so I don't know whether he's is it Madore?
Mariota.
Mariota. He's got a mullet as well, doesn't he? So it's hard to, anyway.
He was good.
Yeah, great win for the Raiders finally. And maybe that's just the win they need to just get him across the line, get the win, get it out of his system. All right, we're good to go now. Now, onto the Sharkies. They came back well in the end, but, oh, man. They completed really well, which is great, 87% completion, but they are missing Nicho Hines something chronic. If Nicho Hines plays that game, they win. I think Matty Moylan's in an interesting spot because individually maybe he's a step slower than he used to be or whatever, but he just complements Nicho so much, and maybe he's struggling a little bit to complement Trindle, because I think Trindle's been outstanding. Is there a world where Trindle goes to 6 and Nicho goes to 7?
I don't think so personally. I agree with you in that Moylan complements Nicho Hines too perfectly. I think they'll stay as they are. I think there's a better chance that Trindle grabs a 14 jersey. Personally, I think they'll stay with Moyser, and that's where, and I sort of alluded to it last week, that's where I wonder if long term, unfortunately, if there's going to be a spot for Wade in this team. And it's credit to Wade because of the young guys that he's built up there and everything. But I'd be sticking with Moylan at 6, and I could understand playing Trindle at 14.
Yeah, and they've obviously been going with the 4-forward bench of late whenever possible. They actually went back to the 4-forward bench this week. And Connor Tracy's obviously missed out on an opportunity there most of the time. But with Trindle, you just think Nicho's coming back in off the back of a calf injury. We know Matty Moylan's injury history. Trindle, he's so clearly an NRL quality halfback. To be playing reserve grade would be such an injustice to his ability, I think. So I think he deserves to be 14, but whether or not that best suits the makeup of their squad, I don't know. We'll leave that to Fitzy.
It's a tough loss for the Sharkies because you can't really point to missed tackles. They missed less. They missed 23, whereas Raiders missed 31. They completed at a higher percentage and they had the ball more.
They didn't miss that many tackles, but there were some ones they did miss were very poor. Like Big Reds, I think it was his second try that he scored there. The Timoko one that he strolled through, might have been Moiser as well, really poor. So not bad numbers, but the ones they did miss were cool.
It's just hard to gauge, where they're at when you've got 53% of the possession and you completed at 87% and you had 24 points put on you by a Raiders side who aren't notoriously out and out attackers kind of thing. So I don't know where the Sharks are right now. I'm really confused.
I think though when the Raiders are desperate and they're in Canberra, they just drag you into the gutter with you and just turn it into a fight. They love doing that. That's why I was so confident they'd win this game, because they were desperate. They're in Canberra, backs against the wall, and they just love a dogfight.
It's crazy. Post-contact meters, Sharks won. Run meters, Sharks won. Sharks had more runs as well, 220 to 173. They had more tackle breaks. They had more kick returns, a 40-20. They made less tackles. They missed less tackles. Fuck. Tough loss for Sharkies. Jesus.
Yeah, and I think, I don't think anyone's saying that it is panic stations for the Sharkies, but I think there's plenty of positives to take out of that. Once they get the Dally and medalists back, I think they will start to stack up some serious wins. I thought Wilton was fantastic, mate. The amount of work he got through, 176 run metres, 41 tackles, only 2 missed. I thought he was tremendous. And the other back rower, we obviously had him. I had him in my team of the week, Nikora. Some of the shots he put on and the line that he runs, he just can't be stopped. When the halfback gets it right, you can't stop him.
Yeah, he's a gun, Nikora. Knee quarter. I think it's knee quarter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agreed, mate. He was outstanding. The positive for the Sharks, though, is they've clearly responded to the coach. Because, like, the last 2 weeks, they were missing a bunch of tackles. Their completion rate was terrible. At least they're taking care of the things they can control. And so if there's a way to lose, although they had some glaring misses, like, this is the kind of way you want to lose because you can build around this kind of stuff. It's when you're completing at 60%, you're missing 50 tackles. That's when you go, well, what's the attitude like? Whereas at least the Sharky boys, they've responded to their coach. They've got a high completion rate, so it shows they care, and they're not missing many tackles. So I think the other stuff will fall into place.
I think they'll be fine, the Sharkies.
I agree.
Oregon Kafusi was good off the bench. Did some really nice things as well. He's handy.
Jeez, the Eels could use Kafusi and Niokoro now. Okay, now tips for next week brought to you by Sportsbet. As always, guys, gamble responsibly. Just a little dabble here and there. Don't spend any money that you don't have. Just have it. Treat it more as a bit of fun, guys. You win some, but you lose more than you win. Now, let's get on to our tips for next week. The Eels paying $3.25 against the Penrith Panthers. What do we got, boys?
Panthers for me.
Panthers.
Oh, I like that $3.25 though, and the Para Eels do have the wood over the Panthers outside of a grand final. Ooh.
Do it.
No.
You won't.
You're the cat. You're going for Panthers. I'm being brave here.
Are you though?
Brave.
No, I'm going Panthers. You can't do it. Storm v the Tigers. Storm paying $1.35. Tigers $3.25.
Storm.
Yeah, I'm going Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm going Storm. Dolphins paying $3.25. Broncos $1.35. What are we going here, boys?
Broncos.
I'll go Bronx no matter what. If Kafusi's out, I'm definitely put a line through the Dolphins. But I'm still going Broncos.
I'm going Bronx, and I think this will be the test of like where the Dolphins are really at.
Big time.
Big time. Big
Could
strong.
Could this be a reality check game after 3 big up weeks?
I tell you what, if they beat the Broncos, it'd be one of the great victories all time. One of the great victories all time.
It's a Suncorp too.
It's going to be such a good clash. I think the Broncos, I just think their forward pack is too electric right now, to be honest. But the positive is although I'll be Devo if Broncos lose, I'll be stoked for the Dolphins because they just beat a top 4 contender, like currently. Now, North Queensland Cowboys, Titans.
I'm going to take the Titans here.
Oh, shit, $2.75 it's paying.
I'm going to take an outsider here.
Cows.
Yeah, I'm going Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys. Rabbitohs, Sea-Eagles. Sea-Eagles are paying $2.75.
That's ridiculous, I
That's
reckon.
great value. Yeah. Get on her, son.
Timmy, who you going? I'm torn.
I'll take the odds and go Manly, I think. The Bunnies could have middles out again. I'm Manly.
I need to see team list. Of course I'm going South, but that $2.75 is outrageous, I reckon. But I'm tipping South.
I'm going Manly. I like what I see with Manly. I like what I see. New Zealand Warriors, Canterbury Bulldogs, $1.90 each. Even.
I'll join you on Manly too. I'll make you both. Cowardly fellow. Warriors, Bulldogs. Fuck. I'll go the Warriors over there.
Yeah, I'll go the Warriors. The home ground gets them over the line.
I'm looking on Twitter. There's a Warriors fan that's saying, she's saying that it's almost sold out the stadium already. Like it's going to be a big crowd this week.
When the Warriors are going good, Kiwis fucking get behind them massively.
I'm going Warriors for sure.
I'll go Bulldogs. Knights, Raiders. Knights paying $2.60. Raiders $1.50.
Raiders.
I'm going Newcastle.
Going Raiders. St. George Dragons paying $2.50. Sharkies $1.54.
Sharkies.
Sharkies.
Nico back, Sharkies.
I think this could be a bit of a dogfight.
Yeah.
250 is not bad. Probably could be a bit higher. Sharkies. Got anything on this week, boys?
Yeah, Beers and Break-Evens will be live Wednesday, 3 p.m. on YouTube. So come over and join us for
Come over and join us.
Campy, just if people could go and follow SC Playbook on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, that'd be mad.
All right. Follow SC Playbook.
That's it.
Give her a follow. We will be at Gilligans, the last stretch of the regional tour, 6 p.m. this Friday in Cairns. Make sure to get down. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.